Chapter 3909. Zhuan's eyes sparkled. The huge five-element ring turned into a five-colored stream and flowed back into Zhuan's body. Zhuan's aura was many times stronger than before. It was like a huge mountain, lofty and unapproachable. Zhuan looked at the sky and found that the surrounding darkness was gradually dispersing. He knew that dawn was coming. "Human, I have done what you said. You should let me go now, right?" The rock giant looked at Zhuan with fear and asked carefully. He was still worried that Zhuan would go back on his words. After all, his current state was too bad. If Zhuan wanted to kill him, he would not be able to resist. "Don't worry. I promised that I would not kill you. I will definitely not attack you," Zhuan said with a smile. The rock giant became more and more vigilant. Every time this human smiled like that, it would not be good for him. "Then you should let me go, right?" The rock giant said as he slowly floated up. He stared at Zhuan and tentatively took a few steps back. However, the moment he took a step back, a purple gold divine sword suddenly swept over and pierced his body. The rock giant cried out in pain. The rock giant was shocked and angry at the same time as he shouted in a deep voice, "I said that I would not kill you, but I did not say that I would let you go." Zhuan's smile became more and more brilliant. The rock giant trembled. It was this kind of smile. The last time this human showed such a brilliant smile, his four limbs had been cut off by him. "You don't have to be so nervous. For the next 20 days, you will stay in my macro world. There are some things that I need to ask you. After 20 days have passed, I will immediately release you," Zhuan said calmly. The rock giant secretly complained. This guy did not intend to let him go so easily. However, the rock giant was glad that the human had only imprisoned him for 20 days and not for his entire life. Otherwise, he would rather die than submit to the rock giant. "What is your name?" Zhuan asked casually. "My name is Allah." The rock giant had already accepted his fate and was very cooperative. Zhuan nodded and asked, "Allah, you're a human-level evil spirit after all. You should be familiar with the distribution of evil spirits in this small world, right?" Allah looked at Zhuan with vigilance and asked in a deep voice, "What do you want?" Zhuan grinned, revealing an extremely bright smile, and said, "I just want to ask you to do me a small favor. Tell me the specific location of some warrior-level evil spirits. If you do it well, I can actually help you restore your limbs. How about it?" Allah looked at Zhuan in amazement. He did not expect that this human in front of him could actually help him restore his limbs. He could not help but feel a little moved. Warrior-level evil spirits had a clear sense of territory. Many warrior-level evil spirits would often invade the territories of other warrior-level evil spirits in order to expand their territories. Allah had been invaded by many other cultivator-level evil spirits and had a lot of grudges with them. If he could lead this kid to his enemies, wouldn't that be great? Thinking of this, Allah revealed a rather wretched smile and readily agreed. "It's going to be daybreak soon. You can enter my big world first," Zhuan said to Allah as he looked at the sky that was gradually turning white. Allah thought for a moment and did not refuse. He was taken into Zhuan's big world. When the sky was completely bright, Zhuan carried the headless idol back to the palace in the Great Rift Valley. However, when he returned to the palace, he found that there were many cracks on the surface of the palace, as if it had been destroyed by some kind of power. Li Xinbing, Mei Yuanxi, and the others were outside the palace, as if they were waiting for someone. When Zhuan returned, they all gathered around him. "What happened?" Zhuan pointed at the cracks on the palace and asked in astonishment. Li Xinbing smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Daowen, you don't know this, but the darkness in this small world is getting more and more terrifying. The evil spirits that appear are also getting stronger and stronger. Yesterday, one of the evil spirits broke through the light and attacked the palace. If it wasn't for the headless idol suddenly emitting an even brighter light, we might have died last night." Mei Yuanxi nodded in agreement. Zhuan looked at Ziling and saw her nod. He knew that Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were telling the truth. "Are you saying that you want me to hand over the headless idol in my hands?" Zhuan suddenly asked. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi's hearts skipped a beat. They quickly waved their hands and refused. "Brother Daowen, you've misunderstood. We don't mean that. What we mean is that we should take the initiative to snatch the headless idol. Zhuowen thought for a moment. Although he did not stay in the palace at night, Ziling was still there. If the palace was breached, Ziling would die with it. Although Zhuowen knew that Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were using him, he really did not have a better way to ensure Ziling's safety. How many palaces are left? Zhuowen asked. Li Xinbing quickly said, there are about 60 palaces left. We've already investigated them. The closest palace to us is about 10,000 miles northwest of the Great Rift Valley. The ones occupying that palace are from Eternal Loyalty State. The strongest among them is called Lin Hu. He's already at the pinnacle of the 5 elements transformation state. Zhuowen gave Li Xinbing a deep look. This woman's investigation was really thorough. It seemed that she had long been interested in that palace. Zhuowen did not pursue the matter. He nodded and said, Li Xinbing, Mei Yuanxi, the two of you can come with me. Li Xinbing frowned, but when she thought of Zhuowen's strength, a look of relief appeared on her face. The short youth from before was also at the pinnacle of the 5 elements transformation state, but he was easily defeated by Zhuowen. In her opinion, Zhuowen's strength should be close to the early stage of the yin-yang transformation state. It should be enough to take down Lin Hu. About an hour later, the 3 of them arrived at a place about 10,000 miles northwest of the Great Rift Valley. It was a lush black forest. The black forest was extremely large. It was at least 1,000,000 miles wide. In the middle of the black forest stood a palace. Is that the palace? Zhuowen pointed at the palace in the middle of the forest and asked Li Xinbing. Yes, let's go. Li Xinbing nodded. However, Zhuowen stopped Li Xinbing. The latter looked at Zhuowen suspiciously. Someone's coming. Zhuowen looked at the horizon. There was a stream of light coming at them at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, the stream of light appeared above the black forest. Only then did the 3 of them see that it was a huge divine ship in front of them. This divine ship landed in the open space in front of the temple in the forest with familiarity, and a group of people walked down from it. When Zhuowen saw the leader of the group, his eyes narrowed, and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He happened to know this group of people. It was Ku Xinjue and the others from the Wukong state. Chapter 39:10. Zhuowen and the other 2 quietly entered the Black Forest. Not long after, they arrived at the center of the Black Forest. They hid behind the bushes and retracted their auras. Through the gaps in the bushes, they looked at the palace in front of them. At this moment, the 2 sides were clearly in a dispute. The dignified youth was naturally the leader of this palace, Lin Hu. He looked at Ku Xinjue with an unfriendly expression and said, This brother must be Ku Xinjue from the Wukong state. I am Lin Hu from the Yongzhong state. May I know why you are here? Ku Xinjue grinned and said, Brother Lin, are you joking? Can't you guess why we're here? Li Miao, who was standing beside Ku Xinjue, said impatiently, Lin Hu, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the palace, and we won't harm a single hair on your head. Lin Hu's expression changed slightly as he looked coldly at Li Miao. Just as he was about to speak, Li Miao suddenly released a powerful aura. Lin Hu was silent. Li Miao's aura was extremely vast and was not any weaker than his. He also knew that Li Miao was at the peak of the 5 elements transformation stage like him. And from Li Miao's performance, standing behind Ku Xinjue, it could be seen that Li Miao was definitely not the strongest in this group. The strongest should be Ku Xinjue. He guessed that Ku Xinjue was at least at the yin-yang transformation stage. This kind of lineup was much stronger than theirs. Lin Hu also knew that if they continued to struggle, they would definitely be wiped out by Ku Xinjue's group. Of course, if Brother Ling Hu knows what's good for you, and you submit to me and become our vassal, then maybe we can accept you as one of our team members. Ku Xinjue suddenly said. Lin Hu's cultivation was not weak and was not inferior to Li Miao and Lu Hong. This was a talent, and Ku Xinjue did not want to let him go. Li Miao whispered to Ku Xinjue, Senior Ku, the space in each palace is limited and we're already full. How are we going to recruit Lin Hu? Ku Xinjue glanced at Su Rong and the other two and said calmly, I said before that my team does not need trash. It's time to clear out some trash and let Brother Lin Hu join us. Hearing this, Li Miao instantly understood and looked at Su Rong's group of 3 with ill intentions. Su Rong and the other two's faces were deathly pale. Ku Xinjue's voice didn't avoid them, so the 3 of them clearly heard the conversation between Ku Xinjue and Li Miao. Su Rong forced a smile and said, Senior Brother Li Miao, you guys are joking, right? We are all cultivators of the Wukong State region. We should help each other out. Helping each other? The 3 of you have such trashy cultivation. What ability do you have to help us? You're just 3 burdens in our team. Su Rong and the other 2 turned even paler. They lowered their heads and remained silent. Li Miao was right. Their strength was too weak. They had no right to speak in this group. Ku Xinjue did not even look at Su Rong and the other 2 as he looked towards Lin Hu and said, Our team still has 4 vacancies. If Brother Lin Hu agrees to join us, we do not mind helping you pass this trial. Lin Hu's eyes flickered, revealing a look of interest. He looked at his companions behind him and gritted his teeth. I still have a few friends. Can you? Ku Xinjue shook his head and said, Brother Lin Hu, our team doesn't have many vacancies. Accepting you is already my biggest concession. Other than you, I won't accept anyone else. Lin Hu was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, I'll join your team. As he spoke, Lin Hu walked straight behind Ku Xinjue and calmly looked at his eternal loyalty state companions who didn't know what to do. All of you scram. Otherwise, I'll deal with you. Ku Xinjue said coldly to the other eternal loyalty state cultivators. Everyone from eternal loyalty state revealed a look of anger, but feeling the terrifying aura release from Ku Xinjue's body, they dared to be angry, but did not dare to say anything. Helpless, they could only leave this place. The 3 of you are still not scramming? Ku Xinjue saw that Su Rong and the other 2 actually didn't leave. His gaze turned cold, and his tone became very impolite. Su Rong and the other 2's faces turned pale. Su Rong said unwillingly, Senior Brother Ku, please take us with you. After all, we are all cultivators of the Wukong State. Don't worry, we will definitely not take up any space. We just need to leave a little space in the corner. The 3 of us can squeeze in. We won't give you any space. We won't trouble you. Ku Xinjue didn't say anything else, but gave Li Miao a look. Li Miao grinned. He stepped in front of Su Rong, grabbed him by the collar, and then ruthlessly threw him out. Su Rong crashed into many thick trees before falling to the ground, creating a huge crater. He spat out a mouthful of blood and violently twitched on the ground. The other 2 people retreated and looked at Li Miao in horror. Li Miao, back then you told me that if we left Dao 1 and joined your team, you would guarantee that we would pass this trial. Could it be that your words were all nonsense? Su Rong struggled to stand up and said angrily. Li Miao grinned and said, You really are an idiot. This was just my plan to sow discord. I just wanted to let Dao 1 have a taste of being betrayed by everyone. Trash like you. If it wasn't for revenge on Dao 1, do you think I would bother to rope you in? I have to say, you don't even have the self-awareness of being trash. Su Rong's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have firmly followed Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen's strength was not as good as Ku Xinjue's, and there was a high possibility that he would die in the trial. However, Zhuowen at least treated them as companions, and not like Ku Xinjue and Li Miao, who only treated them as clowns that could be thrown away and humiliated at any time. The other 2 quickly ran to Su Rong's side and helped him up. They advised, Senior Brother Su, let's go. Su Rong swallowed a few mouthfuls of bloody phlegm, looked at Li Miao with resentment, and planned to leave with the other 2. Trash, you dare to glare at me? I think you don't want to live anymore. Don't even think about leaving today. Hurry up and die here. Li Miao's eyes revealed an ominous glint. He actually did not plan to let Su Rong and the other 2 go. Like a wild beast, he charged towards Su Rong and the other 2. Li Miao, Su Rong and the other 2 were shocked. Ku Xinjue had clearly planned to let them go, but Li Miao actually wanted to kill them. Wasn't this too much? The instant Li Miao was about to charge in front of Su Rong and the other two, two figures suddenly rushed out from the bushes and blocked Li Miao's path. Boom, boom, boom. The three of them collided, and terrifying energy ripples erupted. Li Miao frowned and couldn't help but retreat a few steps. As for the two figures, they retreated more than 10 steps before stabilizing themselves. Who are the two of you? Li Miao couldn't help but frown when he saw that it was a man and a woman who blocked him. Moreover, they were both in the late stage of the 5 elements transformation stage. Chapter 39:11. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi retreated to a spot not too far away from Su Rong and the other two. Li Miao was even stronger than the short youth from before. They had only exchanged a single blow, and they had already suffered minor injuries. Thank you for saving me, fellow Taoists. Su Rong forced himself to bow to Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi. His eyes were filled with gratitude. Li Xinbing said expressionlessly, "We were also entrusted by someone. Otherwise, we wouldn't have taken such a huge risk to save the three of you." Su Rong was puzzled. He didn't know who the two of them had entrusted to save them. He remembered that he didn't know anyone at the late stage of the 5 elements transformation stage. Ku Xinjue furrowed his brows as he looked at Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi. His eyes lit up as he said, "My two friends, your strength is not bad. If you're willing to join my team, I can help you pass this test." As he spoke, Ku Xinjue walked in front of Li Miao. A terrifying aura erupted from him as black and white energy surged out from his body. They transformed into a huge yin-yang diagram that rotated above his head. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were shocked. Their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. They didn't expect that the leader of this team would be a yin-yang transformation stage expert. It was no wonder that Li Miao, a pinnacle 5 elements transformation stage expert, would listen to this youth. Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi looked at each other with worry. They doubted that Zhuowen would be a match for Ku Xinjue. Ku Xinjue sensed Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi's nervousness, and a smug smile appeared on his face as he continued. "I'm sure the two of you have seen through my cultivation. With my cultivation, it shouldn't be difficult for me to bring you through this trial." Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were both tempted by the offer. Although there were many geniuses participating in this test, there were very few who had reached the yin-yang transformation stage and above. They were known as the seeded contestants and would definitely pass the test. If they joined Ku Xinjue's team, the chances of them passing the test were very high. Behind the bushes, Zhuowen silently looked at the hesitant Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi. His lips curled into a sneer. He was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he waited for Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi to make a decision. If they chose him in the end, Zhuowen would treat them as true companions and help them pass this trial. Of course, if they chose Ku Xinjue, Zhuowen would not show any mercy. After a moment of hesitation, Mei Yuanxi suddenly walked towards Ku Xinjue. "Senior Marshal Brother, my name is Mei Yuanxi, and I come from the Elimination region. May I know Senior Brother's name?" Mei Yuanxi approached Ku Xinjue with a fawning smile. Ku Xinjue patted Mei Yuanxi's shoulder and laughed. "Good. Brother Mei, you've made the right choice. This choice will allow you to pass this trial. I'm Ku Xinjue from Wukong State. You could just call me Senior Brother Ku." Mei Yuanxi was shocked. His eyes flickered as he said subconsciously, "I didn't expect Senior Brother Ku to be from Wukong State as well." Ku Xinjue's eyes flashed coldly as he asked in surprise, "Could it be that Junior Marshal Brother Mei has met other cultivators from Wukong State?" Mei Yuanxi nodded and explained the situation of Zhuowen and Ziling. He also pointed out that Zhuowen was hiding behind the bushes. This Dao one seems to be quite capable. He actually managed to snatch a palace from you." Ku Xinjue's gaze fell on the bushes as he said this. He sneered, "Daowen, come out and face your death. How long are you going to be a coward?" Li Miao and Lu Hong looked at the bushes with unfriendly gazes. Su Rong and the other two were pleasantly surprised. They knew that Li Xinbing and Mei Yuanxi were Zhuowen's companions. They guessed that Zhuowen was planning to save them. However, when they thought of how strong Ku Xinjue and the others were, They were extremely worried. They felt that Zhuowen was not a match for Xinjue and the others. A rustling sound came from the bushes. Then, a figure slowly walked out from the bushes. When Li Miao saw the figure, his lips curled into a cruel smile. Daowen, it really is you. You only know how to hide your head and tail. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. He did not even look at Li Miao. Instead, he looked at Li Xinbing, who was still hesitating. Junior Marshal Sister Li, it's your turn to make the decision. Do you plan to join Xinjue or stay my team? Zhuowen said indifferently. Li Xinbing bit down on her lower lip. She looked at Zhuowen's calm eyes and suddenly thought of Zhuowen's previous actions. She gritted her teeth and silently walked to Zhuowen's side. Xinjue and the others were surprised. They did not expect Li Xinbing to choose Zhuowen. Was she blind? Mei Yuanci was also in disbelief. He quickly advised, Junior Marshal Sister Li, Daowen is not a good person. No matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than an yin-yang transformation stage cultivator? Moreover, Senior Marshal Brother Ku's team is so strong. You. Li Xinbing shook her head. Senior Marshal Brother Mei, you saw what Xinjue did. He can abandon his companions as he pleases. If I'm useless to him, maybe he'll abandon me halfway through the journey. Besides, other than me, I have my own companions. I will not abandon my companions and leave alone. Xinjue's face suddenly became gloomy. Li Xinbing's words just happened to poke at his sore spot, and he was very angry. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame us for killing you too. Xinjue snorted and looked at Li Miao. Li Miao understood and strode towards Zhuowen. The aura around him became more and more terrifying. Mei Yuanci's eyes flashed. He wanted to remind Xinjue that Zhuowen was very strong. He had once killed a 5 elements transformation stage cultivator. Li Miao might not be able to deal with Zhuowen. However, Xinjue waved his hand and interrupted Mei Yuanci. Instead, he stared coldly at Zhuowen. He wanted to see Zhuowen being torn to shreds by Li Miao with his own eyes. Die, you piece of trash. Li Miao laughed and stepped in front of Zhuowen. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Zhuowen's face. A huge 5 elements ring appeared behind Li Miao. The 5 elements ring flowed with the terrifying power of the 5 elements, causing the power of his punch to become even more terrifying. Zhuowen slowly stood where he was and watched as the fist came closer and closer. His eyes were filled with ridicule. Chapter 39:12. How is this possible? How can there be such a huge 5-element ring? Li Miao's pupils constricted as he looked at the huge 5-element ring behind Zhuowen in disbelief. Compared to Zhuowen's 5-element ring, Li Miao's 5-element ring paled in comparison. Then Li Miao saw Zhuowen casually raise his hand and easily pinch his fist. Immediately after, Li Miao saw in disbelief that his right fist was bent at an unbelievable angle towards his shoulder. His right hand was easily broken by Zhuowen. Everything happened too quickly. Li Miao didn't even feel any pain before his arm was twisted. Then, Zhuowen's left fist, which had been accumulating power, came crashing down and landed on Li Miao's face. This punch seemed casual, but the power was too terrifying. Li Miao's face was smashed inwards, and his flesh and blood were badly mangled. Bang! Li Miao fell at Zhuowen's feet. His whole body twitched and blood flowed out. He was even disfigured. Li Miao, you've been in this small world for so long, but you haven't improved at all. You're too trashy. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. He raised his foot and stomped on Li Miao's chest. The latter groaned and couldn't even speak. Everyone fell into a short silence at this moment. After the silence, there was an uncontrollable uproar. Xinjue's pupils constricted. He looked at this scene with some shock, especially at the huge 5-element ring behind Zhuowen. He actually felt a sense of oppression from the 5-element ring. He was an yin-yang change powerhouse, but a mere 5-element ring gave him such a feeling. It was clear how terrifying the 5-element ring was. Senior brother, Lu Hong cried out loudly as her jade feet tapped lightly on the ground, and she flashed towards Zhuo when like a vigorous leopard. Lu Hong's movement technique was quite impressive. The moment she rushed over, she split into 100 figures. It was difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Zhuo continued to casually throw out a punch. This punch actually transformed into 100 fist shadows, and every single one of them was terrifying as if they were solid. Bang! Lu Hong let out a muffled groan as she was struck by a fist shadow. She flew out and crashed into a tree behind her. Li Xinbing's eyes were filled with shock. She realized that Zhuo was even stronger than before. He could easily take care of a cultivator at the pinnacle of the 5 elements change stage. This was much more casual than when Zhuo had killed the short youth. She knew that this was because Zhuo had become stronger again. In his hands, those at the peak of the 5 elements transformation stage were nothing more than clowns, unable to withstand a single blow. Mi Yuanci was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped to the ground. This was a little too much. How could this Zhuo be so much stronger than before? Thinking of this, Mei Yuanci couldn't help but glance at Xinjue. He was now a little worried whether Xinjue could kill this Zhuo, and the ones who were the most shocked were none other than Su Rong Trio. Originally, they were in Zhuo's team. Later on, they were bewitched by Li Miao and joined Xinjue's team. At that time, they didn't expect Zhuo to be so strong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left Zhuo's team. Zhuo's expression was cold. His right hand formed into a claw and grabbed Li Miao's 5 elements ring. Then he exerted force with his right claw, and a terrifying force spread out. Countless cracks appeared on the 5 elements ring. Finally, under everyone's shocked gazes, the 5 elements ring shattered into dust. Once the 5 elements ring shattered, Li Miao fell to the ground and rolled around in pain. He let out a heart-wrenching scream. His cultivation was completely destroyed at this moment. From this moment onward, he would be a complete cripple. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts when they heard Li Miao's miserable scream. Not only was Zhuo's strength terrifying, but his attacks were also extremely vicious. Xinjue, you sent trash like this to kill me. Aren't you underestimating me a little? Zhuo mocked as he kicked Li Miao to Xinjue. Xinjue didn't even look at the screaming Li Miao lying at his feet. Instead, he stared at Zhuo and said, I really misjudged you. I didn't expect your cultivation to progress so quickly. You've already reached the late stage of the 5 elements transformation. No wonder you're so arrogant. But do you think that just because you defeated Li Miao, you're my opponent? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Zhuo laughed and shook his head. Xinjue, in my eyes, you're nothing. Or rather, in my eyes, everyone in this trial is nothing. I don't care about them. Zhuo wasn't lying. Although his cultivation wasn't high, he was terrifyingly powerful. Moreover, he had already fought with deity, domain transformation, and fiend god transformation powerhouses. His vision was much higher than all of the geniuses in this trial. In Zhuo's eyes, no one in this trial could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He didn't care about Xinjue from the very beginning. Xinjue saw the disdain in Zhuo's eyes, and his heart burned with anger. What right did this trash have to look down on him? Oof. It seems like you don't know how terrifying an yin-yang transformation cultivator is. Today, I'll show you how strong an yin-yang transformation cultivator is and how weak you are. Xinjue was so angry that he laughed. He slowly walked forward and the yin-yang energy in his body surged out, forming a huge yin-yang diagram above his head. The yin-yang diagram rotated, surging with a mysterious and domineering energy. It seemed to contain an endless amount of Taoist energy. It had to be said that Xinjue was indeed an early yin-yang transformation cultivator. He was many times stronger than Li Miao. After all, there was a huge gap between the yin-yang transformation and the 5-element transformation. Crossing that gap would result in an earth-shattering transformation. To put it bluntly, Xinjue could easily defeat Li Miao. The moment Xinjue unleashed his yin-yang transformation power, the surrounding crowd involuntarily retreated. This was a battle between yin-yang transformation cultivators. If they were too close, they could easily be caught in the crossfire and be finished. Lu Hong also retreated with a half-deadly meow. She glared at Zhuowen with hatred. She couldn't wait for Xinjue to kill that bastard Zhuowen. Junior sister Li, step back. I'll take care of this guy soon, Zhuowen said to Li Xinbing. Li Xinbing's beautiful eyes were strange. She looked at Xinjue and opened her mouth, but didn't say anything in the end. She also felt that Zhuowen was bragging. Xinjue was an yin-yang transformation cultivator. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, he couldn't easily take care of him. However, she was smart enough to know that she didn't need to say anything. She only needed to watch from the side. After all, she couldn't interfere in this battle. Take care of me soon. Chapter 39:13. Daowon, in my eyes, you're already an unforgivable sinner. Today, I want you to die in the most miserable way in my hands. This is your punishment for offending me. Xinjue was like a deity descending from the heavens as he strode towards Zhuowen. The black and white river formed by the power of yin and yang revolve around him like a giant black and white snake. The faces of the crowd, who had originally retreated, changed slightly when they felt the vast and terrifying aura that Xinjue had released. They couldn't help but take a few more steps back before looking at Xinjue, who was like a god, with a serious expression. Will senior brother Daowon be his match? Li Xinbing stopped on a tree branch, her beautiful eyes filled with worry. Mei Yuanxi heaved a sigh of relief. Xinjue was much stronger than he had imagined. It seemed that Xinjue would definitely win this battle against Zhuowen. Zhuowen shook his head and didn't say anything. Instead, he swung the terrifyingly huge 5-element ring behind him and charged towards Xinjue. When he arrived in front of Xinjue, the 5-element ring in his hand smashed towards Xinjue with a mighty aura. Xinjue sneered. The yin and yang river around him suddenly swept out and blocked the 5-element ring. Bang! 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 The power of the 5 elements and the power of yin and yang collided, creating a terrifying energy ripple. A majestic mushroom cloud even appeared in the sky above the two of them. However, what shocked Xinjue was that the 5-element ring actually smashed a hole in the yin and yang river. Moreover, through this hole, the 5-element ring suddenly rushed in and smashed towards Xinjue. Xinjue's gaze turned solemn. He understood that Zhuowen wasn't an ordinary person. His strength was somewhat shocking, so he didn't dare to be careless. Under Xinjue's control, the yin and yang river suddenly shrank in front of him and formed a black and white shield. Bang! 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 The 5-element ring smashed into the black and white shield, creating a thunderous sound that reverberated in the air. The sound lingered in the air and lingered in the air. Zhuowen and Xinjue each used their strongest superpowers and fought in the dark forest. Terrifying energy ripples erupted from the battle, causing the towering trees in the forest to collapse. So strong. Is this Daowon really at the 5 elements transformation stage? Li Miao and Lu Hong were both dumbfounded. They never thought that a mere late-stage 5 elements transformation cultivator would be able to hold his own against an early-stage yin-yang transformation cultivator. This was simply inconceivable. Li Xinbing was quite excited. With Zhuowen's terrifying battle prowess, in her opinion, there was a high chance that he would be able to lead them through this trial. I didn't expect the difference between the yin-yang transformation and the 5 elements transformation to be so huge. Zhuowen swung the 5-element ring in his hand again and again. Seeing Xinjue block it time and time again, he couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. Ever since he reached the late stage of the 5 elements transformation stage, he was well aware of just how strong he was. A peak 5 elements transformation stage cultivator was nothing but trash in his eyes. He even believed that he could easily crush a yin-yang transformation cultivator. But now, it seemed that he had been too optimistic. Without using any trump cards, he could only suppress an early-stage yin-yang change realm cultivator with the power of his cultivation. If Ku Xinjue were to hear this, he would definitely vomit blood from anger. A late-stage 5 elements transformation cultivator suppressing an early-stage yin-yang change realm cultivator was already extremely impressive. This was something that only a true, monstrous genius could do. Ku Xinjue was trying his best to mobilize the yin and yang energy in his body, unleashing the strongest power he had in his life. However, he was still unable to break through Zhuo Wen's attacks. Instead, he was constantly being suppressed and beaten. It was quite sad. Ku Xinjue knew that if this continued, he would be defeated in less than 100 rounds. He couldn't allow this to happen. He had to kill this Dao when to avenge his humiliation. Thinking of this, Ku Xinjue took out an ancient bronze cauldron. Then, he formed a palm with his right hand and imbued it with the power of yin-yang. He viciously struck the cauldron. Dong! The cauldron emitted a terrifying sound wave. This sound wave layered on top of each other, forming a ring of ripples that quickly blasted towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen knew that something was wrong. He immediately placed the 5 elements ring in front of him. The ring-shaped sound wave arrived in the blink of an eye and blasted onto the 5-element ring. After that, Zhuowen was shocked to discover that traces of cracks had actually appeared on the surface of the 5-element ring. On the other hand, he was affected by the aftershock and fell to the ground with a muffled groan. Another terrifying sound wave swept over with an unstoppable momentum and instantly landed in front of Zhuowen. Zhuowen's expression changed slightly. He used his movement technique and barely dodged the sound wave attack. Only then did he have time to take a closer look at the bronze cauldron beside Ku Xinjue. This bronze cauldron was as tall as 2 people. Its surface was engraved with many dense and complicated patterns. It looked mysterious and profound. Astral weapon fragment. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. He recognized that this bronze cauldron wasn't a heaven-breaking divine artifact, but an astral weapon fragment. The spectators were also shocked. They didn't expect Ku Xinjue to have an astral weapon fragment. Moreover, this astral weapon fragment's grade wasn't low. It was powerful enough to kill an ordinary yin-yang transformation realm cultivator. As expected of the Hong martial divine sect's most outstanding disciple, this astral weapon fragment must have been bestowed to Ku Xinjue by Shi Shanhong to increase his chances of passing the trial. Li Miao's eyes flickered as he looked at the bronze cauldron. He couldn't help but sigh in envy. Lu Hong supported Li Miao. She was clear that with Ku Xinjue's strength and this astral weapon fragment, even a mid-stage yin-yang transformation realm cultivator wouldn't be his match. Ku Xinjue would definitely be able to lead them through this trial. Daowen, why are you running? Weren't you having a good time just now? Why are you running around like a stray dog now? Ku Xinjue bombarded the bronze cauldron over and over again. The sound waves emitted from the cauldron became more and more terrifying. Every time he bombarded a spot, he would be able to turn a few thousand miles into a bottomless abyss. The spectators had already retreated from the dark forest. They looked at the trees that were gradually being destroyed, and their eyelids twitched. This Ku Xinjue's astral weapon was too terrifying. Its destructive power was actually so strong. It's just a rank 3 astral weapon. Ku Xinjue, is it worth it for you to be so proud with this astral weapon? Zhuowen mocked. Ku Xinjue was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage. He couldn't stand Zhuowen's mocking expression. This was a serious blow to his self-esteem. A rank 3 astral weapon is enough to kill you. Ku Xinjue snorted coldly and began to continuously bombard the bronze cauldron without any regard for his life. Instantly, a distant sound resounded throughout the world. Waves of dense sound waves swept over, forming an incomparably huge sound wave dragon. Chapter 39:14. A purple light soared into the sky, and then the sound wave dragon stopped in midair, motionless. In the purple light, an inconspicuous toad slowly leaped out and landed on the head of the Soundwave Dragon. The purple toad seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact, it was extremely fast, so fast that the Soundwave Dragon seemed to be still. After the purple toad jumped away from the Soundwave Dragon, the Soundwave Dragon screamed towards the sky, and then its huge dragon body fell from the sky, smashing fiercely on the ground. The almost transparent dragon body collapsed inch by inch, shattering into countless invisible fragments. The moment the Soundwave Dragon was destroyed, the smile on Kushinjue's face completely froze. He looked at all this in disbelief. The bronze cauldron was a rank 3 astral weapon with peerless power. This Zhuowen should not be able to block it. But now this kid blocked it and even destroyed the Soundwave Dragon. This was too inconceivable. Damn it, Kushinjue's eyes were red, and he almost crazily bombarded the bronze cauldron. He used all his strength and poured all the power in his body into the bronze cauldron. And because Kushinjue used too much strength, his face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body staggered, and he could not stand steadily. An even more terrifying sound wave came, and this time it actually turned into 3 sound wave dragons. They whistled and surrounded Zhuowen, ruthlessly surrounding him in the center. Zhuowen still stood quietly in the same place, and the purple toad on his shoulder jumped out again, turning into a purple shadow that could not be seen with the naked eye. When the purple toad returned to Zhuowen's shoulder, the 3 sound wave dragons were annihilated one after another. Kushinjue's pupil shrank, and he finally realized that something was wrong. He stared at the purple toad on Zhuowen's shoulder, and his lips trembled slightly. Could it be that you're a rank 4 astral weapon? Zhuowen grinned and did not say anything. Instead, with a thought, the purple toad on his shoulder flew out again. In the blink of an eye, it landed in front of Kushinjue. Kushinjue only felt an extremely ominous premonition rise in his mind. Without even thinking, he placed the bronze cauldron in front of him. However, he soon discovered that the bronze cauldron had suddenly become heavy, and it was even trembling. It didn't listen to his orders at all. His heart was shocked. He could already confirm that the mysterious purple toad was indeed a powerful astral soldier that surpassed the 3rd rank. Whoosh! As the bronze cauldron trembled and didn't dare to attack, the purple toad leaped over the cauldron and landed on Kushinjue's head. Kushinjue only felt a vast and terrifying energy pouring into his Tianling acupoint, instantly filling his entire body. Then, his eyes were filled with terror, and he completely lost consciousness. The spectators were shocked to find that the moment the purple toad landed on Kushinjue's head, Kushinjue didn't move and stood stiffly in midair. After the purple toad left, Kushinjue's body exploded into a bloody mist. He died without a complete corpse. The surrounding crowd was completely silent. Everyone seemed to have been petrified as they stood rooted to the ground. They didn't expect that the final result would be like this. Kushinjue was actually defeated. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and put away Kushinjue's spirit ring and bronze cauldron. Then, he strode towards Li Miao and Lu Hong. "Senior brother Daowen, please spare our lives. What happened before was all a misunderstanding. It was all Kushinjue's orders." Li Miao's legs went soft. He immediately knelt down and said while trembling. Lu Hong was also extremely terrified. She was out of her wits and knelt down as well. "If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Li Miao, you tried to kill me and humiliate me time and time again. If I don't kill you, where will I put my face?" Zhuowen was expressionless. After he finished speaking, his right hand sword finger landed on Li Miao's forehead. Li Miao groaned and fell to the ground, completely losing his breath. Lu Hong was so frightened that she almost screamed. She hurriedly lowered her head and her delicate body trembled. "Lu Hong, I don't have much enmity with you. Therefore, I don't plan to kill you. However, you can be considered Kushinjue's accomplice. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment." As Zhuowen spoke, he waved his sleeve. A strong wind blasted out like a blade and chopped off Lu Hong's right arm. Lu Hong gritted her teeth and endured the pain. She didn't cry out. Instead, she sighed softly and bowed to Zhuowen. Then, she silently turned around and left. You guys should leave too. Zhuowen looked at the trembling cultivators in Ku Xinjue's group not far away. He waved his hand and let them leave. Zhuowen didn't even know these people, let alone have any enmity with them. Zhuowen wouldn't implicate them and randomly kill them because of Ku Xinjue's matter. Mei Yuanxi, I didn't ask you to leave. Suddenly, Zhuowen spoke. His gaze fell on Mei Yuanxi, who was about to turn around and leave with the rest. Mei Yuanxi's body stiffened. Without thinking, he executed his strongest movement technique and disappeared from the spot in the blink of an eye. He flew into the distance. Zhuowen sneered. He slashed out with his soul sword essence. It tore through the air and instantly caught up to Mei Yuanxi. The purple gold divine sword pierced through the air and pierced through Mei Yuanxi's entire body. Mei Yuanxi only had time to let out a blood-curdling scream. Blood rained down from the sky, and his corpse fell heavily into the abyss. Seeing Mei Yuanxi fall, the rest of the group stopped in their tracks. They looked at Zhuowen in fear and didn't dare to leave anymore. You guys can leave now. I have some enmity with Mei Yuanxi, but not with you guys. Zhuowen waved his hand and said indifferently. Only then did the group relax. Then they all executed their movement techniques and fled in all directions. They were afraid that if they were too slow, they would be killed by Zhuowen. Zhuowen rubbed his nose, thinking to himself, was he that terrifying? These people actually couldn't wait to run away. Senior Brother Daowen, I didn't expect you to be so strong. Even Ku Xinjue, who was in the early yin-yang transformation stage, was killed by you. Li Xinbing walked over with a smile on her face. She had a charming look on her face. She knew that she had made the right choice. Standing on Zhuowen's side was the best choice. Unfortunately, Mei Yuanxi had chosen the wrong side. Now he was dead. It's not worth mentioning. I also relied on my astral weapon to defeat Ku Xinjue. Zhuowen waved his hand and said nonchalantly. At this moment, Su Rong and the rest had already caught up. They hurriedly bowed to Zhuowen. Senior Brother Daowen, thank you for your help. Otherwise, we would have died in the hands of that bastard Li Miao. After expressing his gratitude, Su Rong vehemently complained about Li Miao's crimes. At the same time, he hinted to Zhuowen that they had left his team mainly because Li Miao had bewitched him. The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up into a smile. How could he not hear that Su Rong wanted to rejoin the team? Unfortunately, Zhuowen wasn't willing to let Su Rong and the rest join his team. If he gave others a chance, he wouldn't give it twice. Since Su Rong had missed it, they wouldn't have the chance to join Zhuowen's team again. Chapter 39:15. Senior Brother Daowen, we're all cultivators from the Wukong State region. Look at us. Su Rong braced himself and said. Zhuowen had shown such great strength. If they joined Zhuowen's team, they would definitely pass this trial. How could they give up? Zhuowen sneered and shook his head. Brother Su, I've already given you a chance. You didn't cherish it. You and I were originally on the same team, but you abandoned me and Miss Ziling to join Ku Xinjue's team. You're no longer my companion, so I have no obligation to take you in again. Li Xinbing stood aside and listened silently. She also understood the whole story and looked at Su Rong and the other two with disdain. It turned out that the three of them were fence-sitters. They had abandoned Zhuowen before, and now that he was so powerful, they wanted to join Zhuowen. Even she would not accept such fence-sitters. Su Rong and the other two's faces turned pale. Just as they were about to speak, Li Xinbing suddenly said, You three, you saw what happened to Brother Me just now? Senior Brother Daowen is already being merciful by not attacking you. It's better that you don't push your luck. Hearing this, Su Rong and the other two's faces changed drastically. They remembered Mi Yuanxi's fate. Mi Yuanxi chose Ku Xinjue, and in the end, he was killed by Zhuowen. They had already betrayed Zhuowen, but he did not kill them. It was indeed merciful. Thank you for saving our lives, Senior Brother Daowen. We'll take our leave now. Su Rong and the other two did not ask to join the team. Instead, they cupped their fists at Zhuowen and quickly left. Zhuowen looked at her with approval and said, "Sisterly, from today onwards, you and your companions are also my companions. I hope we can be in the same boat for a period of time." Li Xinbing smiled sweetly. Her beautiful face became even more radiant because of her smile. Zhuowen could not help but take a second look at her. Li Xinbing was also quite excited. She knew that when Zhuowen said these words, he had already regarded her as a true companion. She also knew that all of this was because she had chosen the right side. Otherwise, Zhuowen would not have accepted her so easily. "Senior brother Daowen, you can call me Junior Sisterly from now on." Li Xinbing smiled. "Good. Junior Sisterly, let's go in and take a look." Zhuowen nodded and led Xinbing into the palace in the Black Forest. They found 2 headless statues in the palace. At the same time, Zhuowen found 3 headless statues in Ku Xinjue's spirit ring. In other words, they had obtained 5 headless idols this time. This harvest could be said to be extremely rich. We already have 7 headless idols. If we can obtain 3 more headless idols, we only need to stay in the palace, and we'll be able to survive the remaining 20-odd days. Li Xinbing's beautiful eyes were filled with excitement. Zhuowen smiled. It seemed that for the next period of time, he could finally find trouble with those evil spirits in the dark and improve his cultivation. After the 2 of them took the headless idols, they returned to the Great Rift Valley. Everyone in the palace came out to welcome them. When they found out that they had obtained 5 headless idols in one go, they were all very excited. "Senior brother Daowen, where's senior brother Mei?" In the group, Mei Yuanxi's 2 companions could not help but ask when they saw that Mei Yuanxi did not return with Zhuowen. Zhuowen said indifferently, "Mei Yuanxi betrayed us and was killed by me. I won't make things difficult for you. You can leave now." Mei Yuanxi's 2 companions were stunned. After a moment of silence, they cupped their fists at Zhuowen and quickly left the Great Rift Valley. "Senior brother Daowen, their eyes are filled with hatred. If you let them go, I'm afraid they won't let you go." Li Xinbing said worriedly. "They are not even comparable to Mei Yuanxi. What can they do?" Zhuowen said calmly. Hearing this, Li Xinbing's beautiful eyes flickered. She could only nod her head, but there was still some worry in her heart. After Mei Yuanxi's 2 companions left the Great Rift Valley, one of them, a tall and skinny man, said with hatred in his eyes, "This Daowen is really a bastard. He actually killed senior brother Mei. He must have done it on purpose. After killing him, he even slandered senior brother Mei for betraying us. What a despicable person." The slightly plump man beside him said hesitantly, "I don't think Daowen is that kind of person. Otherwise, why would he let us go just like that? He's just a hypocrite. The 2 of us are not strong. In his eyes, how can the 2 of us pose a threat to him? Since we can't pose a threat, he naturally won't bother to deal with us." The tall and skinny man snorted coldly. The slightly plump man smiled bitterly and said, "You're right. The 2 of us are too weak. Now that we've been chased out, I'm afraid we'll die tonight." The tall and skinny man's eyes flickered as he said in a low voice, "That's not necessarily true. We can rely on others." The slightly plump man hesitated and said, "I know that, but the problem is, who can we rely on now? I don't know anyone in this trial, and the people from our province are all dead. Only the 2 of us are left." The tall and skinny man said proudly, "You also know that I have a good relationship with senior brother Mi. 5 years ago, senior brother Mi and I went to the Feihong province and met Wang Qingxue. And Wang Qingxue and senior brother Mi had a relationship. As long as we rely on Wang Qingxue, we might be able to avenge senior brother Mi." The slightly plump man's eyes widened as he asked tentatively, "Feihong province? Could it be that Wang Qingxue is related to Wang Wenhong? She's Wang Wenhong's cousin. She's also in Wang Wenhong's team this time." The tall and skinny man said proudly. The slightly plump man was pleasantly surprised. That was Wang Wenhong, one of the 3 seated geniuses in this trial. He was a monstrous genius on the same level as Tsang Juanda, and his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the yin-yang transformation. If they could join Wang Wenhong's team, there would be no doubt that they would pass the trial. The slightly plump man asked doubtfully, since senior brother Mi is so close to Wang Qingxue, why didn't he join Wang Wenhong's team from the beginning? The tall and skinny man said awkwardly. Although the two of them had a relationship, it was actually quite short. Senior brother Mi is a man after all. He naturally wouldn't lower himself to join his ex-girlfriend's team. Now that senior brother Mi has been killed by that Daorun, we have no choice but to rely on Wang Qingxue. I think she would accept us on account of senior brother Mi's relationship, right? The slightly plump man looked at the unsure expression on the tall and skinny man's face and was speechless. This guy was too unreliable. He wasn't even sure if Wang Qingxue would accept them. However, he also knew that this was their last chance. Chapter 39:16. After a while, the lanky man's communication jade talisman lit up. After reading the message, his eyes lit up with joy. Wang Qingxue is willing to accept us. She even gave us a specific location. It's quite a distance from here. If we run at full speed, we should be able to reach their palace before nightfall. The lanky man put away the communication jade talisman and rushed towards Wang Qingxue's palace with the chubby man. As the sun set in the west and was about to sink below the horizon, the lanky man and the chubby man finally arrived at Wang Wenhong's palace. This palace was situated on top of a snowy mountain. The surface of the snowy mountain was covered with pure white snow. It was wrapped in silver and flawless. The palace was also covered in snow, as if it was wearing a thick layer of silver-white armor. When the two of them reached the peak of the mountain, a young woman slowly walked out in front of the palace at the peak of the mountain. The woman was tall and slender, with long black hair that reached her waist. When the two men saw the woman's figure, their eyes lit up. However, when their gazes fell on the woman's face, their expressions changed slightly. This was because there were many red spots on her face. Most of the red spots were concentrated on the right side of her face. If one only looked at the left side of her face, she was actually quite good-looking. However, because of the red spots on the right side of her face, her appearance was completely ruined. She could only be described as ugly. The lanky man hurriedly stepped forward and said respectfully, "Senior Sister Wang, I'm Lu Yong. Senior Sister Wang should still remember me, right?" The chubby man also hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. He knew that the ugly woman in front of him should be the Wang Qingxue that the lanky man had mentioned. Although the lanky man had reminded him many times on the way that Wang Qingxue's appearance was somewhat average, he was prepared. However, now that he saw the real person, he felt that the lanky man's evaluation of Wang Qingxue was too high. How was she average? She was simply too ugly. Wang Qingxue looked at the sky and realized that it was going to be dark soon. She said to the two men, "Come in first. Tell me more about senior brother Mi." The two men obediently followed Wang Qingxue into the palace. After walking into the hall, they found that there were not many people in the hall. There were only about 5 people, and the most conspicuous one was the young man sitting in the middle of the hall. This young man had a dignified appearance and an extraordinary bearing. He wore white clothes, and he was like a budding white lotus that was untainted by the mortal world. What surprised them even more was that there were 13 headless idols piled up around the young man. Pei Shanglong had once said that in this small world, as long as he could obtain 10 headless idols, he would be able to smoothly survive for 30 days. There were more than 10 headless idols piled up beside the young man. This meant that they didn't need to snatch the idols of others to pass the trial. The white-clothed youth who was resting with his eyes closed slowly opened his eyes. He looked coldly at the two men and asked, "Qingxue, which one of them is Mei Yuanci?" Wang Qingxue shook her head and said, "Cousin, they are not Mei Yuanci. The real Mei Yuanci is already dead." At this point, Wang Qingxue was a little sad. Even though she had broken up with Mei Yuanci, she still missed him. Now that Mei Yuanci was dead, her heart was filled with sorrow. Since they are not Mei Yuanci, then kill them. The white-clothed youth, Wang Wenhong, said indifferently. The two men were so frightened that they quickly knelt on the ground, cold sweat dripping down their foreheads. Cousin, they're Mei Yuanxi's companions after all. Our team doesn't have many people, right? Please let them stay. Wang Qingxue pleaded softly. Wang Wenhong frowned slightly and nodded, saying, "Since you say so, then we can keep them by our side. We already have enough headless idols. We just need to stay here for another 20 days, and we will pass the trial." With that, Wang Wenhong closed his eyes again and continued to cultivate. "Cousin, Mei Yuanxi is my Dao companion after all. Don't you care about his death at all?" Wang Qingxue stomped her foot and said. Wang Wenhong didn't even open his eyes, saying, "Qingxue, can't you see? That Mei Yuanxi didn't treat you sincerely. It's good that he's dead. At least you won't miss him too much. As for avenging him, I don't have the time for that." Wang Qingxue's eyes reddened, saying, "If you don't want to go, then I will. Whether he treated me sincerely or not, he was my Dao companion after all. I can't just ignore his death." With that, Wang Qingxue said to the lanky man, "Tomorrow morning, bring me to find the murderer. I will avenge Mei Yuanxi." The lanky man trembled and hurriedly said, "Miss Qingxue, you mustn't. The murderer's strength is not to be underestimated. Even though his cultivation is nothing special, he has a powerful astral weapon. Even Ku Xinjue of Wukong province died in his hands." The lanky man knew that Zhuowen had a rank 4 astral weapon because Mei Yuanxi had contacted him before his death and mentioned that Zhuowen had used a rank 4 astral weapon to kill Ku Xinjue. Hearing this, Wang Wenhong, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed as he stared at the lanky man and said, "What did you say? That person has a rank 4 astral weapon fragment? Could he beat Song Juanda or Ming Yingwu?" Seeing that Wang Wenhong was finally interested, the lanky man heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, "His name is Dao Wen, from Wukong province. He isn't Song Juanda or Ming Yingwu, and his cultivation is only at the 5 elements transformation stage. But he is very strong and has a rank 4 astral weapon fragment. Ordinary yin-yang transformation stage cultivators are no match for him." Wang Wenhong narrowed his eyes, saying, "Not Song Juanda or Ming Yingwu, but he has a rank 4 astral weapon. This is interesting. Qingxue, I'll go with you tomorrow." Although Wang Wenhong was the strongest genius in the Feihong province and had a rank 4 astral weapon given to him by the sect, this rank 4 astral weapon was given to him by the sect. But this rank 4 astral weapon was only given to him temporarily by the sect. After this trial, he would have to take it back. Not only him, but Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu also had rank 4 astral weapons given to them by their respective sections. This was to prevent other geniuses from using astral weapons to kill them. Therefore, even though Wang Wenhong knew that Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu had rank 4 astral weapons, he didn't dare to fight with them. After all, their cultivation was about the same, and their astral weapons were also about the same. A battle would only result in both sides suffering. But Zhuowen was different. His cultivation was only at the 5 elements transformation stage, but he had a rank 4 astral weapon. To Wang Wenhong, this was a big prey. He also had a rank 4 astral weapon, and his cultivation was stronger than Zhuowen's. As long as he killed this person, the rank 4 astral weapon would naturally be his. This was a great temptation. Chapter 39:17. When night fell, Zhuowen carried the headless idol and left the palace. The people in the palace had long been accustomed to Zhuowen's behavior. After all, Zhuowen would enter the darkness every night, and no one knew what he was up to. After walking out of the Rift Valley, Zhuowen grabbed Allah, who had lost her limbs, from the outside world. "Allah, it's another beautiful night. I need some warrior-level evil spirits. I think you'll help me find them, right?" Zhuowen said with a smile. Allah looked at Zhuowen's smile, and her body trembled. She cursed in her heart. This young man looked harmless, but he was actually an extremely black-bellied guy. Thinking of this, a bright smile appeared on Allah's face. She said, "Of course. Now that we're old friends, of course I'll help you. Zhuowen smiled. Then, under Allah's lead, he entered the territory of the nearest warrior-level evil spirits. Zhuowen could feel that tonight's night was much scarier than before. The pressure from the depths of the darkness was like countless mountains crushing down on him, making it difficult for him to breathe. He was panting slightly. Not only that, but the number of warrior-level evil spirits in the darkness was also much more than before. If Zhuowen had not been accompanied by Allah, a cultivator-level evil spirit, who released her aura to scare away the surrounding fighter-level evil spirits, Zhuowen doubted that the headless idol he carried on his shoulder would be able to withstand so many evil spirits. Zhuowen put away the headless idol. With Allah's existence, this headless idol was useless to him. About an hour later, Zhuowen came to a swamp. The area of the swamp was very large. It was surrounded by withered trees that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. They looked like malicious ghosts. Around the swamp, there was a thick ink-black fog floating and emitting waves of stench. Zhuowen also discovered that there were no other evil spirits in the vicinity of the swamp. Many Do-level evil spirits had stopped their advance when they were several thousand miles away from the swamp. They did not dare to approach. The moment Zhuowen entered the swamp with Allah, a huge wave suddenly rose in the central swamp. Then, a huge black shadow rushed out of the water and floated in midair. Zhuowen looked up and found that the black shadow was a huge evil spirit with a human head and a snake body. This evil spirit was not smaller than Allah, and the aura it emitted was even stronger than Allah's. Allah, how dare you trespass into my territory? The evil spirit with a human head and a snake body stared coldly at Allah with its scarlet eyes, and its voice was full of tyranny. Although it saw Zhuowen beside Allah, it subconsciously ignored Zhuowen. In its eyes, this human should be food that Allah brought with her and was insignificant. Of course, it also noticed that Allah's 4 limbs were broken and looked like a bare stone stick. Its eyes showed a trace of doubt. Allah's eyes showed a bit of fear. He smiled and said, Shibai, it is not me who is looking for you. It is my old friend who is looking for you. He has something to discuss with you. Shibai's scarlet eyes narrowed. He suppressed his anger and said coldly, Who is your old friend? What do you want to discuss with me? Allah chuckled, his huge eyes falling on Zhuowen. Shibai's attention fell on Zhuowen, who was beside Allah. He sneered and said, Allah, the old friend you're talking about, is this lowly human, right? Allah was slightly embarrassed and did not answer. Instead, he looked at Zhuowen. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. He did not take Shibai's disdainful words to heart. Instead, he said lightly, You are called Shibai, right? My purpose for coming here today is very simple. I want your life. Zhuowen's words were very serious. Shibai was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed and looked at Zhuowen as if he was looking at an idiot. Ant human, what did you just say? You want my life? Is there something wrong with your brain? Shibai sneered again. Allah carefully said, Shibai, he does have the strength to take your life. Shut up. Shibai coldly scolded Allah and continued. After I eat this human, I will kill you. You are just a piece of trash who has lost all 4 of your limbs. How much strength can you use? Allah was embarrassed and did not know what to say. He only felt a burst of sadness. With his limbs cut off, his strength was indeed not as strong as before. If Zhuowen lost to Shibai, he would also be finished. Thinking of this, Allah immediately prayed in his heart that Zhuowen would be stronger. It would be best if he died together with Shibai. Die, human. How dare you trespass into my territory and provoke me? I will let you know how strong I am. Shibai's huge snake tail swung in the air, and then his huge snake body shot out from the void and swept towards Zhuowen. His speed was almost faster than the speed of sound. Zhuowen went all out, and the power of the 5 elements surged out, forming a huge 5 elements ring behind him. He grabbed the 5 elements ring with one hand and fiercely swung it towards Shibai. You are just a piece of trash in the 5 elements transformation realm. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? You are simply courting death. Shibai sneered again and again. and suddenly his huge snake tail whizzed out and heavily smashed towards Zhuowen's head. Immediately, an endless gale swept out, and the surrounding space seemed to be affected by this gale, collapsing inch by inch. Boom! The snake tail and the five elements ring collided, and suddenly, a terrifying energy ripple exploded between the two. Shibai was horrified to find that the five elements ring contained a power that could restrain him. Bang! Shibai was directly hit by the five elements ring and was directly thrown into the swamp, splashing countless waves. This is the power of righteousness? You are actually a bastard from the Exorcist family. Shibai crawled up and looked at Zhuowen with a gloomy face. Zhuowen snorted and did not give Shibai a chance to talk nonsense. He swept out again, and the five elements ring shot out like lightning, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Shibai. Despicable human. So what if you are from the Exorcist family? Today, I will beat you into shit. Serpent Bear was really angry. Seeing that Zhuowen was still attacking, he roared angrily, and his huge serpent body pounced towards Zhuowen. Moreover, Shibai did not hold back anymore, and almost burst out with all his strength to fight with Zhuowen. Ala retreated to the edge of the swamp and looked at the two figures fighting in the sky above the swamp. Her eyes were full of fear, and she muttered to herself, "This Zhuowen is much stronger than when he first met me. He can actually fight Shibai to this extent, and it seems that Shibai is about to be suppressed." Boom! Suddenly, the two people fighting in the sky separated and retreated dozens of miles, facing each other from a distance. Chapter 39:18. Fight! Zhuowen let out a long roar as the energy in his body surged out. He shot out like an arrow leaving the bowstring, nearing Shishir in the blink of an eye, and punched at Shishir like a madman. Huang Xiaolong used his full strength in every punch, and Shishir was in a sorry state, falling into a disadvantageous position. Phew, this Zhuowen has become so strong. Shishir is going to lose. Alam muttered to himself as the fear in his eyes deepened. Sure enough, not long after Allah finished speaking, Shishir let out a miserable shriek as his tail was torn off by Zhuowen's bare hands. Blood rained down from the sky, forming a strange blood rain. Then, Zhuowen followed up with another attack, closing in on Shishir. Both of his fists were like a storm, and every punch contained his full strength. Bloody holes appeared on Shishir's body. In the end, Shishir let out a miserable shriek and fell from the sky. Allah looked over and was shocked to see that Shishir's body was in tatters and riddled with holes. How many punches did Huang Xiaolong take to make Shishir so miserable? Shishir lay on the ground, twitching in pain. He wanted to get up, but his injuries were too heavy, and he fell to the ground again and again, looking extremely miserable. Zhuowen landed on the ground and swallowed a healing pellet. After calming the turbulent blood qi in his body, he strode towards Shishir. Shishir struggled to retreat, and fear filled his eyes as he looked at Zhuowen walking towards him. "Human, what are you doing? Don't come over." Zhuowen did not say a word, and in a single step, he arrived in front of Shishir. His right hand formed a claw and grabbed Shishir's neck. At the same time, his palm spat out a vast amount of grand mist god force, which turned into fiery energy and began to refine Shishir's body. Shibai screamed in pain as he struggled to break free from Zhuowen's claw. Unfortunately, his injuries were too severe, and he couldn't break free from Zhuowen's grasp. He could only watch helplessly as grand mist god force devoured his body. About an hour later, the huge body of the Snake King was completely refined by Zhuowen. It turned into surging energy and poured into Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen only felt his body warm up, and then his whole body was surging with a terrifying amount of energy. He could clearly feel that after refining the Snake King, the energy in his body had increased by a lot. However, to his disappointment, there were no signs of a breakthrough in his cultivation. He knew that the energy of a single warrior-level evil charm was far from enough. He needed to hunt more warrior-level evil charms in order to make another breakthrough in his cultivation. Zhuan slowly turned his head and looked at Allah. The latter met Zhuan's cold gaze, and he couldn't help but shudder. He quickly said, "Old friend, don't look at me like that. I know other places where warrior-level evil spirits live. I'll take you there immediately." Zhuan withdrew his gaze and nodded, then led the way. Allah wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and floated in the air, slowly flying towards the next place. Just now, Zhuan's gaze had been filled with greed, brutality, and bloodthirst, and it had scared him so much that his heart had almost broken in half. He knew very well that this guy had failed to break through after refining Shishirbai, and he had set his sights on him. Damn, what a terrifying human. I hope I can survive these 20 days by his side, and then he will quickly scram. Allah cursed in his heart. Next, Allah brought Zhuan to the territories of 3 more warrior-level evil spirits. The strength of these 3 cultivator-level evil spirits was relatively average, and they were not even as strong as Allah. Therefore, Zhuan easily dealt with them and refined them all. After refining these 3 evil spirits, Zhuan's cultivation had successfully broken through from the late stage of the 5 elements change realm to the peak of the 5 elements change realm. After successfully breaking through, Zhuan found that it was still early and there was still some time before dawn. However, he did not continue to search for the rest of the evil spirits. Instead, he sat cross-legged on a rock and took out a broken mirror and a bronze cauldron from his great world. His eyes were filled with contemplation. The broken mirror was naturally the 3-fire true mirror. When Zhuan first obtained the 3-fire true mirror, he had already merged the purple gold toad into it. Upon closer inspection, the bronze surface of a 3-fire true mirror had a pattern of a purple gold toad. Because the 3-fire true mirror's grade was much higher than the purple gold toad, the purple gold toad was swallowed by the 3-fire true mirror. Previously, when he dealt with Kush Shinjue, he had used the power of the purple gold toad. The purple gold toad was originally a peak grade 3 astral weapon. After merging with the 3-fire true mirror, its power increased greatly. Dealing with a grade 3 bronze cauldron was naturally a piece of cake. Zhuan silently looked at the bronze cauldron. In his opinion, the bronze cauldron was only a grade 3 astral weapon. Even if it merged with the 3-fire true mirror, the increase in power would be limited. After thinking for a while, he finally decided to merge the bronze cauldron with the 3-fire true mirror. After all, this item belonged to the Hong Wu divine sect. If he kept it on him, the experts of the Hong Wu divine sect might find out. Therefore, in order to erase any traces, he could only merge the bronze cauldron with the 3-fire true mirror. Thinking of this, Zhuan's spiritual will started to touch the bronze cauldron. He entered the cauldron's artifact spirit world. The bronze cauldron's artifact spirit was a black tortoise. Zhuan did not spend too much effort to subdue the black tortoise's artifact spirit and successfully merged it with the 3-fire true mirror. After doing all this, Zhuan noticed that the sky was gradually turning bright. He knew that dawn was coming. He looked at Allah, who was hiding not far away, and said, "It's almost dawn. Come into my great world." Allah was dejected and could only nod. Then, she was kept into Zhuan's great world. After leaving, Zhuan headed straight for the Great Rift Valley. When he arrived at the Great Rift Valley, the sky was completely bright. When he returned to the palace, Li Xinbing and Zi Ling reported to him that everything was fine last night. There were 7 headless statues in their palace. When they were piled up together, the light they emitted was too terrifying. Even the cultivator-level evil spirits did not dare to approach the palace. After knowing that everyone was safe, Zhuan nodded and sat back in his seat. He began to cultivate and stabilize the realm that he had just broken through. Li Xinbing and Zi Ling looked at Zhuan's back with some doubts. They noticed that Zhuan's aura seemed to be much stronger than last night. Moreover, it was not only like this today. After returning a few nights ago, Zhuan's aura was much stronger than before. Although they were puzzled, They knew that this was Zhuowen's secret. Therefore, they did not ask too much. At the same time, at the peak of a snowy mountain thousands of miles away, there was a palace. At this moment, several figures slowly walked out of the palace. The one in the lead was a handsome young man. Chapter 39:19. Half a day later, Wang Wenhong brought several people to the entrance of the Great Rift Valley. Wang Wenhong's cold eyes slowly narrowed as he looked into the valley. In the depths of the Great Rift Valley, the silhouette of a temple could be vaguely seen. Senior brother Wang, doubt one is in the temple in the Great Rift Valley. Lu Yong hurried to Wang Wenhong's side with a fawning smile. Wang Wenhong nodded and led the group into the Great Rift Valley. Soon, they were within 1 mile of the temple. Dao Wan, come out and die. Wang Qingxue was obviously an impatient person. Before Wang Wenhong could speak, she had already shouted first. Zhuowen, who was originally sitting cross-legged in the temple, slowly opened his eyes, frowned slightly, and stood up. Li Xinbing, Zi Ling, and the others also stood up with displeasure. They knew that someone had come to provoke them. However, they did not feel pressured because they knew Zhuowen's strength very well. Other than the 3 seated contestants in this trial, Zhuowen was basically not afraid of anyone. Let's go. Let's go out and have a look. Zhuowen's eyes were calm as he stepped out. Li Xinbing, Zi Ling, and the others followed closely behind. After walking out of the temple, Zhuowen noticed Wang Wenhong and the others. The first person he noticed was Wang Wenhong. Wang Wenhong was extremely handsome with a slender body. He was a rare, good-looking man. Of course, the reason Zhuowen noticed him at first glance was not because of Wang Wenhong's good looks, but because he sensed an extremely terrifying and blazing aura surging within Wang Wenhong's body. This aura was even stronger than Ke Xinjue's. In addition, he saw Lu Yong and Chun Lin beside Wang Wenhong, and his eyes gradually narrowed. Lu Yong and Chun Lin were Mei Yuanxi's companions. Because of Mei Yuanxi's betrayal, Zhuowen had banished the two without thinking of killing them. However, he did not expect that the two of them would not change. Not only did they seek refuge with others, they even brought people to cause trouble. This was somewhat unethical. Lu Yong, have I ever mistreated you? Zhuowen looked at Lu Yong and asked indifferently. Lu Yong was stunned. He thought about it and recalled that during his time in the team, Zhuowen had treated him equally and had never mistreated him. Daowen, you have never mistreated me, but don't forget that you killed Senior Brother Mei and chased us away. Do you think I don't know that you thought Senior Brother Mei was not strong enough, so you found an excuse to kill him? Zhuowen's gaze turned cold as he said, if it's really as you say, that I'm looking for a reason to kill Mei Yuanxi, then why should I let the two of you go? Wouldn't it be better to just kill the two of you? Lu Yong was stunned and thought in his heart that what Zhuowen said was right. But he did not wish to admit his mistake and said with a cold smile, who knows what you're thinking? In any case, it is an indisputable fact that you killed Senior Brother Mei. Zhuowen shook his head, his heart filled with killing intent. This Lu Yong was not grateful at all. If he had known, he would have killed him. So you're Daowen. How dare you? You even dare to kill my Dao companion. Wang Qingxue stared coldly at Zhuowen and screamed. Her sharp voice was ear-piercing. Zhuowen turned to look at Wang Qingxue and said expressionlessly, an ugly girl like you can find a Dao companion? Then how bad is your Dao companion's taste? Wang Qingxue was stunned. Lu Yong and the others were also stunned. Wang Qingxue's face had many red spots. She was indeed ugly, but to Wang Qingxue, this was taboo. Anyone who dared to call her ugly was basically dead. This person was really bold. He actually dared to call Wang Qingxue ugly in front of her. You're courting death. Wang Qingxue was flustered and exasperated. She used her movement technique and rushed toward Zhuowen as fast as lightning. However, she was quickly stopped by Wang Wenhong. Cousin, what are you doing? I'm going to kill this bastard. Wang Qingxue said crazily when she saw Wang Wenhong stop her. Qingxue, calm down. You're no match for this person. He's deliberately provoking you. Wang Wenhong said calmly and led Wang Qingxue back to the team. Zhuowen looked at Wang Wenhong deeply. The latter was right. He was deliberately provoking Wang Qingxue. Wang Qingxue was not weak. She was at the peak of the five elements change realm. In addition, Wang Wenhong had two other peak five elements change realm experts with him. The rest were at the late stage of the five elements change realm. Such a lineup was extremely terrifying. If the two sides fought, their team would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, he planned to provoke Wang Qingxue and make her lose her mind. She would rush over and kill him first. Unfortunately, his plan was seen through by Wang Wenhong. Li Xinbing and Ziling's pretty faces turned pale. Although they did not know Wang Wenhong and the others, they could see that the lineup was terrifying. It was much stronger than their team. "Fellow cultivator, you must be Daowen. I'm Wang Wenhong from the Feihong State." Wang Wenhong saluted Zhuowen and said elegantly, "What? It's Wang Wenhong." Li Xinbing, Ziling, and the others' faces changed. They looked at the young man with a refined smile in front of them in horror. When they saw Wang Wenhong's lineup, they already knew that he was not an ordinary person. They did not expect that this team was led by Wang Wenhong. He was known as one of the three-seeded contestants in this trial. His cultivation had reached the middle stage of the yin-yang change realm, which was many times stronger than Kuxin Jue. "It's over. Even Wang Wenhong is attacking us," Li Xinbing muttered to herself. She gritted her teeth and said to Wang Wenhong, "Senior Wang, with your strength, you should have collected enough headless idols by now. There's no need to continue fighting with us." Wang Wenhong smiled and said calmly, "You're right. I have collected enough headless idols. I didn't come here today for your palaces. I'm here for Daowen." Zhuowen said expressionlessly, "Fellow cultivator Wang, you're here for me? I don't remember knowing you. Why are you looking for me?" Wang Wenhong smiled faintly and said, "I heard from Liu Yong that you have a stage 4 astral weapon. Hee, I'm very interested in this stage 4 astral weapon. If Brother Daowen is willing to give it to me, I'll leave immediately and not trouble you." Wang Qingxue's pretty face changed slightly and said quickly, "Cousin, he's the murderer of Mei Yuanci. How can you let him go just like that?" Wang Wenhong's expression turned cold. He looked at Wang Qingxue coldly and said, "Qingxue, stop fooling around. Life and death in this trial is up to the heavens. Mei Yuanci died because he was not strong enough." Chapter 39:20. Brother Daowen, my sister is a little insensible. She's embarrassed herself in front of you. I've already given you a choice. I think Brother Daowen is also a smart person and should know what to choose. Wang Wenhong raised his head and smiled at Zhuowen. Zhuowen looked deeply at Wang Wenhong. This person seemed extraordinary, but in reality, he was extremely domineering. As soon as he came over, he asked him to hand over the rank 4 astral weapon on him, as if he was giving an order. This made Zhuowen extremely unhappy. "What if I don't give it to you?" Zhuowen asked indifferently. Wang Wenhong smiled, but the aura on his body became more and more terrifying. "Huh, you won't give it to me? Then I'll cripple you first and make you beg to hand over the rank 4 astral weapon to me, begging me to spare your life," Wang Wenhong said casually. Zhuowen smiled, but his smile was filled with coldness. This Wang Wenhong was indeed incomparably domineering. The moment he arrived, he opened his mouth and asked for the rank 4 astral weapon on him. He had only refused, but he immediately wanted to cripple him and use this to humiliate him. This person was really impressive. "Then I'd like to see how you're going to cripple me. Today, I'll fight you. It has nothing to do with them," Zhuowen said calmly. Before Wang Wenhong could speak, Wang Qingxue, who was beside him, sneered, "Ha! You murderer. You killed my cultivation partner. Not only do I want you dead, but everyone related to you must die. I'll kill them all. I'll make you regret killing Mei Yuanci." Zhuowen's expression became incomparably cold. This ugly woman was a little too much. "Junior Sister Li, Junior Sister Ziling, bring everyone into my great world first." Zhuowen turned his head and said to Li Xinbing and Ziling. Then, with a wave of his sleeve, he created a vortex entrance that led to the great world. Li Xinbing and Zi Ling did not doubt Zhuan and led everyone into the vortex. Huh, after my cousin kills you, everyone else will die too. Wang Qingxue sneered. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. This time, the ones who are going to die are your cousin and you, not me. Zhuan said as he strode towards Wang Wenhong. A terrifying power of the 5 elements gushed out from his body, forming a gigantic 5 elements ring behind him. There's actually such a huge 5-element ring. This person is indeed not ordinary. When Wang Wenhong saw Zhuan's 5-elemental ring, he couldn't help but frown. This was the first time he had seen such a huge 5-elemental ring on Zhuan's body. Although Zhuan was still in the transformation of the 5 elements, he didn't dare to underestimate him. His right hand formed a palm, and his feet moved in a mysterious pattern as he charged at Zhuan. Boom! The moment Zhuan closed in on Wang Wenhong, his right leg lashed out like a whip. Strong qi swirled in the air, creating a whistling sound. Wang Wenhong, on the other hand, was neither fast nor slow. His right hand formed a palm, and within the palm of his hand was a deep blue ice energy. With an extremely fast speed, he blasted it onto Zhuan's right foot. In an instant, Zhuan's right foot was covered in a terrifying chill, and his entire right foot was frozen solid. Then, Wang Wenhong's right palm blasted out several times, targeting Zhuan's vital points. Zhuan snorted coldly. His right fist spat out rays of light, and he also blasted out several punches, which collided with Wang Wenhong's palm. Instantly, terrifying energy ripples erupted from the collision between the two, and the two of them retreated at the same time. Zhuan landed on the ground, and with a shake of his right foot, the ice on the surface of his foot shattered into countless ice shards. Wang Wenhong landed not far away, and his expression gradually became serious. Above his head, a constantly revolving yin-yang symbol floated. He didn't expect Zhuan to force him to use his full strength the moment the two of them exchanged blows. He even activated the yin-yang pattern. I've never seen someone at the peak of the transformation of the 5 elements have such terrifying battle prowess. Where do you come from? Wang Wenhong frowned and asked seriously. I'm just a rogue cultivator. Zhuan sneered. Oomph. Since you won't say, then don't blame me for being impolite. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Let's fight to the death. Wang Wenhong walked step by step into the void, his figure growing taller bit by bit, and his hair loosened, flying chaotically. When he reached the highest point, he stopped and looked down at Zhuan. Daowen, accept my punishment. After Wang Wenhong finished speaking, he pointed his right hand at the sky. Instantly, the clouds above his head began to funnel downwards, landing in front of Wang Wenhong. Only then did Zhuan notice that Wang Wenhong was holding the tip of a bronze spear in his hand at some unknown time. The surface of this spear was engraved with dense patterns. It looked mysterious, magical, and extremely extraordinary. In particular, the terrifying pressure coming from the tip of the spear was like a mountain pressing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. Its cousin's rank 4 astral weapon, the ultimate azure spear. This Daowen is dead for sure. It's impossible for him to block a rank 4 astral weapon. Wang Qingxue sneered. Lu Yong and Chen Lin were somewhat worried. They knew that Zhuan also had a rank 4 astral weapon on him. Originally, they thought that if it was a one-on-one, Wang Wenhong should be able to easily deal with this Zhuan. Unexpectedly, when the two of them fought just now, Wang Wenhong didn't gain the slightest advantage. Zhuan's eyes flickered as he watched Wang Wenhong take out the bronze spear tip. He also raised his hand and took out the rank 4 astral weapon, 3 Fire True Mirror. I really didn't expect this Wang Wenhong to also have a rank 4 astral weapon on him. No wonder he's so confident. Zhuan muttered to himself as he took out the 3 Fire True Mirror, his eyes filled with passion. The 3 Fire True Mirror's level was very high, almost reaching the peak of rank 4. Zhuan believed that if he fused with the bronze spear tip in Wang Wenhong's hand, he might be able to advance further and reach the level of a rank 5 astral weapon. Liu Yong is right. You really do have a rank 4 astral weapon on you, and your astral weapon is quite extraordinary. Wang Wenhong's eyes lit up when he saw Zhuowen take out the 3-fire true mirror, and an extremely greedy expression gradually appeared on his face. I should be the one saying this. I also didn't expect you to actually have a rank 4 astral weapon on you. I was just planning to get another rank 4 astral weapon, and you just happened to deliver it to me. You saved me a lot of time looking for it. Zhuowen said indifferently. You arrogant guy, do you really think you're my opponent? Wang Wenhong sneered and didn't waste any more words. With a wave of his right hand, the bronze spear tip floating beside him turned into a green light and suddenly swept toward Zhuowen. The spear tip streaked across the void, and it actually emitted the sound of cloth tearing, as if it wanted to tear the entire void into pieces. Zhuowen was not afraid at all. The 3-fire true mirror also flew out, and the mirror spewed out blazing blood-colored flames, immediately enveloping the 3-fire true mirror, forming a huge blood-colored fireball. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately, the 2 rank 4 astral weapons clashed, and a terrifying energy ripple spread out. The entire rift valley below was affected, and many rock walls collapsed because of it. Zhuowen and Wang Wenhong soared into the sky, deliberately avoiding the rift valley. After all, the palace was still there, so the two of them naturally wouldn't destroy it because of the battle. Chapter 39:21. Above the clouds, Zhuowen and Wang Wenhong were like 2 gods as they engaged in a fierce battle. Streaks of dazzling light erupted from the horizon. Zhuowen wielded the 5-element hoop and bombarded Wang Wenhong over and over again. Meanwhile, Wang Wenhong used his yin-yang symbol as a weapon and also bombarded Zhuowen relentlessly. Boom! Zhuowen abruptly swung the 5-element hoop and viciously smashed it in front of Wang Wenhong. A terrifying power erupted, causing Wang Wenhong's expression to change slightly as he blocked the yin-yang symbol in front of him. Bam! Wang Wenhong let out a muffled groan as he stepped back repeatedly in the air. Meanwhile, Zhuowen was as steady as a mountain. He controlled the 5-element hoop with his mind and attacked Wang Wenhong relentlessly. Meanwhile, streaks of purplish-gold light erupted from between his brows. These streaks of purplish-gold light condensed into a soaring sword intent. Streaks of terrifying purplish-gold divine swords shot out from between his brows and transformed into purplish-gold sword projections that filled the sky. They arced through the air and circled behind Wang Wenhong. Clang, clang, clang. The purplish-gold sword intents all targeted Wang Wenhong's vital points from the back and mercilessly pierced toward him. It was as if they were going to pierce through Wang Wenhong and turn him into a sieve. Wang Wenhong's expression changed slightly. The yin-yang symbol in front of him split into 2. One blocked the 5-element hoop, while the other descended behind him to block these peculiar purplish-gold sword intents. Ever since Zhuowen cultivated the primordial chaos visualization diagram, the rank of his consciousness had increased extremely quickly. Now, it had already reached the pinnacle of the heaven-crushing 6 form. Clang, clang, clang. The purplish-gold sword intents all rained down on the yin-yang symbol, causing countless sparks to fly. However, they were unable to break through the yin-yang symbol's defenses. Wang Wenhong exhaled lightly. He was even more wary of Zhuowen in his heart. The battle just then had truly shocked him. This man's strength was truly too terrifying. He had unleashed all of his abilities, yet he was still suppressed by this man. Was this guy really an Earth Transformation Stage cultivator? Just as Wang Wenhong was in a daze, countless purplish-gold sword intents suddenly fused into one and transformed into a terrifying purplish-gold sword that reached heaven and earth. In an instant, the entire sky was filled with a terrifying storm of sword intent that swept into the 9 heavens and spread in all directions. Wang Wenhong's expression changed. He could feel the threat of death from this terrifying sword intent. Boom! The gigantic purplish-gold sword intent suddenly slashed down on the yin-yang symbol. Bam, bam, bam. Suddenly, a series of terrifying cracking sounds came from the yin-yang pattern. Then, countless cracks appeared on the surface of the yin-yang pattern. When the cracks spread to the extreme, the yin-yang symbol shattered. The purple-gold greatsword landed on Wang Wenhong's body. Splat! A stream of mournful blood sprinkled down from the sky. Then, Wang Wenhong let out a painful roar and turned into a stream of light, instantly disappearing from this place. I Wenhong, I Wenhong, I Wenhong, I have of you and God of you. Wang Wenhong, in the distant horizon, Wang Wenhong's exasperated voice sounded out and gradually faded away. At the same time, the bronze spear tip that was in a stalemate with the three-fire true mirror instantly erupted with a terrifying might. It wanted to charge out of the three-fire true mirror and follow Wang Wenhong. Oomph! You better stay behind. Zhuowen's cold voice sounded out. The three-fire true mirrors might instantly overflowed and filled the entire horizon. It actually forcefully suppressed the bronze spear tip, causing it to be unable to escape. In a valley surrounded by mountains tens of thousands of kilometers away, Wang Wenhong landed in the valley and fell to the ground with a plop. There was an extremely terrifying wound from his right shoulder to his left abdomen. Moreover, the wound was extremely deep and fresh blood continuously flowed out. Damn it, I underestimated this Wenhong. He's actually so strong. Wang Wenhong's expression was unsightly. With a thought, he planned to summon the bronze spear tip back. However, after several failed attempts, he practically roared out in anger, "Bastard thing! Even my rank 4 astral soldier is imprisoned." Bastard, bastard, Wang Wenhong vented for a while. His eyes flickered, and he hesitated for a while. In the end, he did not have the courage to go back and look for Zhuowen. He knew that if he went back, he would not be able to escape anymore. He would definitely die. Thinking of this, Wang Wenhong sighed. After taking a healing divine pill, he continued to flee into the distance. He was really afraid of Zhuowen now. He only wanted to escape as far as possible. On Zhuowen's side, after Wang Wenhong escaped with serious injuries, Zhuowen activated the three-fire true mirror with all his might and completely suppressed the bronze spear tip. After that, he set up dense formations around the tip of the bronze spear. After completely trapping it, he let out a sigh of relief and put it away in his world. After doing all this, Zhuowen slowly descended into the Great Rift Valley. At this moment, Wang Qingxue and the others were all dumbfounded. They had not even recovered from the shock of Wang Wenhong's failure. Zhuowen did not care whether they regained their senses or not. Instead, he walked straight towards them. The moment he took a step, he waved his sleeve, and 2 streaks of starlight shot out, instantly piercing through Lu Yong and Chen Lin. He had let these 2 guys go out of kindness, but he did not expect that they would repay kindness with enmity and lure Wang Wenhong and the others here to kill him. There was no reason for Zhuowen to continue letting these 2 bastards who bit the hand that fed them live. Once Lu Yong and Chen Lin died, Wang Qingxue and the others immediately came to their senses. They all retreated and looked at Zhuowen in horror. Wang Qingxue, in particular, screamed and kept retreating, her delicate body trembling. Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he said coldly, "If you dare to take another step back, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." Wang Qingxue turned a deaf ear and continued to scream. She even used her movement technique and fled out of the Great Rift Valley. Unfortunately, as soon as Wang Qingxue fled, a purplish-gold sword intent suddenly slashed out, cutting through the air and landing on her body. Wang Qingxue's divine soul was shattered by the purplish-gold sword intent. Her body stiffened, and she fell from the air, smashing into the ground. She could not be more dead. When the remaining 4 people saw that Wang Wenhong was seriously injured and fled, and Wang Qingxue was killed with a single slash, they all trembled. Their eyes were filled with horror as they looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. Who else wants to escape? Zhuowen slowly descended from the sky. He looked at the remaining 4 people and said calmly. The 4 of them lowered their heads, trembling as they knelt on the ground. They were really frightened by Zhuowen. How could they simply escape? Who has the headless idols in your hall? Zhuowen asked indifferently. The 4 of them looked at each other. One of the young men walked out obediently, took out 5 headless idols from his spirit ring, and placed them in front of Zhuowen. I have 5 headless idols with me, and the other 5 are with Wang Wenhong, the young man said honestly. Zhuowen nodded. After collecting the 5 idols without hesitation, he looked at the 4 people indifferently and said, "You came to me with such an aggressive attitude. Did you think that I would let you go easily after you handed over the headless idols?" The 4 young men felt their scalps go numb. The young man who handed over the idols was extremely decisive. He slashed out with his sword and cut off his right arm. Chapter 39:22. Zhuowen silently looked down at the 4 of them. He waved his sleeve and said, "You can leave now. I won't kill you today, but if I see you again, I will kill you." The 4 of them sighed in relief. After bowing to Zhuowen in gratitude, they quickly left the Great Rift Valley. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and summoned Li Xinbing, Ziling, and the others from the outside world. Li Xinbing and Ziling looked around in confusion and subconsciously asked, "Where are Wang Wenhong and the others?" "Wang Wenhong has been defeated by me. We have enough idols. For the next period of time, we just need to stay in this temple and wait for time pass," Zhuowen said calmly. Li Xinbing and Ziling were both shocked. They didn't expect Zhuowen to be able to defeat Wang Wenhong. This was too terrifying, especially when they saw Wang Qingshua's body not far away. They believed Zhuowen's words without a doubt. After all, Wang Qingxue was Wang Wenhong's cousin. They were related by blood. If Wang Wenhong had not been defeated, he would not have left Wang Qingxue alone. For the next period of time, except for leaving at night, Zhuowen basically stayed in the temple in the Great Rift Valley. Since he defeated Wang Wenhong, although other cultivators came to the Great Rift Valley to compete for their headless idols, Zhuowen easily defeated them all. Every night, Zhuowen, under the leadership of Allah, looked for one warrior-level evil spirit after another, defeated them, and refined them all. As the number of human-level evil spirits he refined increased, Zhuowen's cultivation base also increased in an orderly manner. However, Zhuowen also found that as he refined more and more warrior-level evil spirits, the increase in cultivation brought to him by the warrior-level evil spirits became less and less. Zhuowen knew that as his cultivation continued to increase, the benefits brought to him by the warrior-level evil spirits became less and less. Do I need to find a higher-level evil spirit if I want to continue to break through? In the dim darkness, Zhuowen had just refined a warrior realm evil spirit. His deep gaze penetrated the darkness and fell into deep thought. Tonight was the 27th night since he entered this small world. In another 2 days, the 30 days would be up, and he would have to leave this small world. Allah carefully accompanied Zhuo when not far away. When he saw that Zhuowen's face didn't show any joy after refining the human-level evil spirit, his heart couldn't help but jump as a bad premonition arose in his heart. "Era, is there an all-level evil spirit in this small world?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Hearing this, Allah almost knelt down. He said with tears and snot running down his face, "Master Zhuo, this is just a small place. How could there be an evil spirit in this place? Don't let your imagination run wild." Allah was cursing in his heart. Mother of asterisk her, it's fine if he's looking for an all-level evil spirit. Zhuowen can deal with an all-level evil spirit. But this guy is crazy. He actually wants to find an all-level evil spirit. That kind of existence can crush them with just a finger. It's an existence that is beyond the reach of all-level evil spirits. Even if he knew, it was impossible for him to tell Zhuowen. That was simply courting death. Really, Zhuowen's eyes were cold as he stared at Allah unkindly. Allah was a little scared by his stare. His eyes flickered, and he didn't dare to look at Zhuowen. "Raise your head and look at me. Do you dare to say what you just said again?" Zhuowen said coldly. His eyes were filled with a terrifying, murderous intent. Allah's scalp was numb. He could feel the intense, murderous intent in Zhuan's eyes. If he answered wrong, he was afraid that he would be killed by Zhuan immediately. There's an all-level evil spirit. But that lord is too powerful. Even Master Zhua. Allah's voice was getting weaker and weaker. Obviously, Zhuan could guess what he was going to say next. Allah thought that the all-level evil spirit was too powerful for Zhuan to deal with. Zhuan chuckled and said, "That's not necessarily true. Tell me the location of that all-level evil spirit. I'll go and take a look tonight." Allah stammered. In the end, under Zhuan's coercion, he finally told him the location. This small world was not too big. It was a paradise for many evil spirits. In this place, there were many all-level evil spirits. There were also many all-level evil spirits. Other than that, there was another even more powerful evil spirit. This evil spirit was the only all-level evil spirit in this small world. It was the king of this small world. It was a truly terrifying existence. This all-level evil spirit was called the Evil King by many of the evil spirits in this small world. It was the king of this small world. The Evil King lived in the Evil King Palace. The Evil King Palace was located in the center of this small world, on a mountain peak that almost reached the clouds. The Evil King Palace was the most dangerous place in this small world. It was heavily guarded. There were many evil spirits guarding the perimeter of the Evil King Palace. There was no lack of all-level evil spirits. "Let's go. Our Evil King Palace," Zhuan said as he pulled Allah and rushed into the depths of the darkness. "Oh my God, Master Zhua, I don't need to go. If you want to go, you can go alone. I can't help you." Allah screamed. "You can help." Zhuan smiled faintly. Vast grand mist God force condensed in his palm. For streams of God force flew out and landed on Allah's severed limbs. In an instant, Allah's limbs regrown. Allah also noticed that the composition of his limbs was different from the evil spirit's energy. They actually contained Zhuan's vast grand mist God force. "Your limbs have merged with my vast grand mist God force. In addition to your all-level evil spirit's energy, you can restrain most all-level evil spirits. Among the all-level evil spirits, you are worthy of being called the king. This is the fortune I promised you," Zhuan said calmly as he ran. Regrowing the limbs of evil spirits was something that Zhuan had learned from the universal scripture of heaven and earth. The universal scripture of heaven and earth could seize the fortune of heaven and earth. He could refine the evil spirit's energy, and naturally, he could also imitate the evil spirit's energy to restore their bodies. This was something that Zhuan came up with after comprehending the universal scripture of heaven and earth. Allah moved his limbs and revealed a look of ecstasy. He could feel that his new limbs were much more flexible than his old ones. Moreover, because of the grand mist God force contained in his attacks, Huang Xiaolong's attacks were able to suppress the nefarious spirits. Just as Zhuan had said, he was invincible among the nefarious spirits. "Thank you, Master Zhua." Allah was overjoyed. "If you really want to thank me, then follow me to the Evil King Palace. Otherwise, I will immediately take back your limbs," Zhuan said coldly. Chapter 39:23. The Evil King Palace was located in the center of the small world, at the peak of 10,000 feet mountain. When Mu Feng and Allah arrived at the foot of 10,000 feet mountain, the pressure on them increased greatly. The number of evil spirits around them was simply uncountable. Even though Allah was an elder-level evil spirit, which was of a higher level than these evil spirits, she could not withstand the covetous gazes of so many evil spirits. When they arrived at the foot of 10,000 feet mountain, an elder-level evil spirit with a human head and a snake body blocked their path. "Who are you? Tell me your name. And what's with this human?" The elder-level evil spirit ignored Zhuan and coldly stared at Allah. Allah's expression was a little unnatural as she hurriedly said, "This person is not an ordinary person. He's a disciple of the exorcist family. I accidentally caught him and wanted to offer him to the evil king." The elder-level evil spirit looked at Zhuowen in astonishment. Clearly, he did not expect the latter to be a disciple of the exorcist family. This small world that we're in is isolated from the rest of the world. It's been a long time since we've met someone from the exorcist family. Your luck is pretty good to be able to catch such a human. I'll bring you to see the evil king." The elder-level evil spirit agreed readily. Then he turned around and led the two of them towards the peak of 10,000 feet mountain. Zhuowen and Allah looked at each other. They were both surprised that things were progressing so smoothly. They thought that this lame excuse would not be reliable and that they would have to fight when the time came. They did not expect that this evil spirit would not doubt it at all. The 10,000 feet mountain was extremely tall, almost connecting the heavens and the earth. After the elder-level evil spirit led them into the mountain, the surrounding black gas gathered and turned into a huge black dragon. The elder-level evil spirit called out to Zhuowen and Allah before leaping onto the black dragon's body. Zhuowen and Allah followed closely behind. The black dragon suddenly felt pain and flew upwards at an extremely fast speed. After about an incense stick's worth of time, the black dragon brought them to the peak of 10,000 feet mountain. The peak of 10,000 feet mountain was extremely vast and stretched as far as the eye could see. At the centermost position, there was an incomparably huge pitch-black palace. Surrounding the palace, there were many cultivator-level evil spirits with extremely powerful auras patrolling the vicinity. After greeting the patrol captain, he brought Zhuowen and Allah into the Evil King Palace without any obstructions. The Evil King Hall was very big, but inside the hall, there wasn't a single evil spirit. It was very spacious. The Evil King Hall was the territory of the Evil King. Without the Evil King's permission, no other evil spirits were allowed to enter this hall. If they barged in without permission and angered Evil King, they would definitely die. The snake-bodied man brought the two of them to the entrance of the inner hall and said, "The Evil King is already aware of your arrival. He is waiting for you in the inner hall. This is as far as I can go." After he finished speaking, the evil spirit with the human head and snake body simply retreated. Outside the hall, Allah looked extremely nervous. He looked at Zhuowen, obviously waiting for the latter to make a decision. "Come in." At this moment, a dignified voice came from inside the hall. Zhuowen and Allah looked at each other. Then, Zhuowen pushed open the door and walked in. The inner hall was not as big as the outer hall, but the decorations were more luxurious and magnificent. In the deepest part of the hall, there was a golden staircase that kept going up, and at the end of the staircase was a magnificent throne. At this moment, a majestic figure was sitting on the throne. This figure was covered in pitch-black armor, and his face was covered with a pitch-black mask. It was impossible to see this person's true appearance. Zhuowen knew that this should be the master of the Evil King Palace, the Evil King. Zhuowen originally thought that the Evil King should be the same as the other evil spirits and should have a strange appearance. But he didn't expect that this Evil King looked more like a human. Although he couldn't see his specific appearance, just from his figure, he could tell that he was closer to a human. The Evil King's mask covered his face, and only a pair of scarlet eyes, emitting a faint bloody light, indifferently stared at Zhuowen and Allah in front of the hall. He looked at Zhuowen with interest and said to Allah, "This person is the descendant of the exorcist family that you mentioned?" Allah's whole body trembled as he hurriedly replied, "Yes, this person's strength is extremely strong. It took me a Herculean effort to capture him alive." The Evil King nodded and slowly stood up. He suddenly waved his right hand, and Zhuowen couldn't help but fly towards the Evil King, like a piece of iron being attracted by a magnet. The Evil King didn't seem to care about Zhuowen. In his eyes, this human was just an ant. How could he resist in front of him? When Zhuowen couldn't help but land on the throne, the Evil King's face changed slightly. When this human was near him, he felt a vast power erupting from the human's body. This power was very strange, as if it could restrain their evil spirits. Boom! Zhuowen instantly punched out, and this punch contained his full strength. Vast grand mist god force poured out onto the evil king's body. At the same time, terrifying divine soul sword intent burst out from between Zhuowen's eyebrows. Dense divine soul sword intent surged and merged, forming an incomparably huge purple-gold sword in the air, and slashed down on the evil king's head. In addition, Zhuowen also took out the Three Fires True Mirror. His right fist punched out with full strength, and his left hand held the Three Fires True Mirror. Instantly, boundless blood-red flames spewed out. The evil king faced a terrifying fist in front of him, the Three Fires True Mirror on his left side, and the enormous purple-gold sword slashed down on him from above. When these three attacks landed on the evil king's body, terrifying explosive sounds exploded out. Moreover, these sounds were continuous and unceasing. They reverberated and spread out in the surroundings. It was extremely terrifying and frightening. Allah, who was standing in front of the palace door, was dumbfounded when she saw this scene. Her face was pale white from fright. This little ancestor's guts were really big. He attacked the evil king as soon as he arrived. Wasn't he too daring? Moreover, with such a loud commotion, it probably attracted the attention of the evil spirits outside the evil king's palace. Just as Allah had expected, when the explosion occurred, the numerous evil spirits outside the evil king palace all stopped their actions and turned their gazes towards the evil king palace. Their eyes were filled with confusion. However, Allah had underestimated the evil king's deterrence. Although these evil spirits were puzzled by the explosions in the evil king's palace, they might have guessed that some kind of battle was happening inside. However, they were afraid of the evil king's aura. Without the evil king's permission, they wouldn't dare to take half a step into the evil king's palace. At most, they would guard this mountain for the evil king. Therefore, these evil spirits wouldn't enter the evil king's palace. Chapter 39:24. Most of the armor on the surface of the heretic king's body had shattered, and even half of the mask on his face had shattered, revealing his ferocious face. The heretic king's face was not human, but covered with green scales that looked a little like snake scales. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked very strange. Pucci. The heretic king stood up with difficulty, but he still spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression changed drastically as he looked at the human sitting on the throne in disbelief. Allah was also shocked. When did Zhuowen become so powerful? Even the heretic king was heavily injured by him. However, what he didn't know was that Zhuowen's cultivation and strength had been constantly transforming during the process of refining the demonic spirit. In addition, the vast grand mist divine power in his body was extremely effective in restraining the demonic spirit, as well as the level 4 astral weapon, Three Fires True Mirror, on his body. Combined with the sneak attack, Zhuowen had heavily injured the evil king. As expected, "You bastard, you and the human are trying to trick me." The heretic king looked at Allah behind him and flew into a rage. He immediately figured out the details, and with a roar, he rushed towards Allah. Allah's expression changed drastically, and he fled in panic. Unfortunately, the heretic king's speed was much faster than him, and he quickly caught up to him. However, at this time, a broken bronze mirror appeared in front of Allah, blocking the heretic king's attack. Terrifying blood flames surged out, turning into an endless sea of fire, and instantly swallowed the heretic king. The heretic king groaned and retreated continuously, barely extinguishing the endless blood flames on his body. The moment he retreated, an incomparably huge purple-gold sword slashed down. The heretic king's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly blocked the attack. Clang! The ground under the heretic king's feet sank by several zhong, showing how terrifying this sword was. Zhuowen stepped out from the throne like a ghost and instantly appeared behind the heretic king. His fists were like cannonballs, and they smashed into the heretic king's back. The heretic king spat out a mouthful of blood and the broken armor on his back was directly smashed into powder. Terrifying fist prints were left on his body. Pucci, the heretic king, flew forward and crashed into the throne, smashing the throne and the stairs connected to it into pieces. Kill him while he's down. Zhuan naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity to beat a drowning dog. His entire body erupted with power, and he looked as terrifying as a god. Suddenly, Zhuan and the evil king engaged in a fierce battle. However, the evil king was completely suppressed by Zhuan. After all, he had been careless in the beginning and did not take Zhuan seriously. Therefore, he had given Zhuan a chance to launch a sneak attack and severely injure him. Now, he was only a little stronger than Allah, so how could he be a match for Zhuan? Bang! Evil King was once again sent flying by Zhuan, and the armor on his body was almost completely shattered. The Evil King roared. His voice was filled with a strange feeling. In the next second, Zhuan discovered that the numerous evil spirits that were waiting for orders in the Evil King Hall were now rushing into the hall like a tidal wave. Allah, close the hall door! Zhuan shouted and once again rushed towards the Evil King. He used all the strength in his body and punched at the Evil King. Streaks of divine soul sword intent burst out with terrifying sword chi that overflowed and wreaked havoc in the entire space. The Evil King was beaten until he vomited blood every time. The number of times he could block became less and less, as if he would be killed by Zhuan at any time. His movements also became slower and slower. After hearing Zhuan's words, Allah immediately realized the danger and immediately closed the huge hall door and locked it. Boom, boom, boom. The moment Allah locked the hall door, violent bombardment sounds came from outside the hall. It was as if countless attacks were bombarding the hall door. Allah leaned against the hall door and felt the violent trembling of the hall door. Her face became extremely pale. Damn it, this time I'm going to die because of this guy. Why did he have to come to the Evil King Hall? Isn't he courting death? When these evil spirits break open the hall door, how can we still be alive? Allah cursed in her heart. Boom! Suddenly, a figure fell from the distance and smashed into the center of the hall. Allah looked over and was stunned to find that this figure was the Evil King. At this moment, the Earth Evil King could only be described with the word miserable. His entire body was covered with wounds and blood was flowing out. His entire body was twitching violently. Bang! A figure slowly descended from the sky and stepped on the Evil King's body. He coldly said, "Let the evil spirits outside the hall leave." The Evil King's eyes were still filled with fear, but more of it was ruthlessness. He said, "Hee, you came here for this king, right? Since this king will die sooner or later, I'll drag all of you down with me." After saying that, the Evil King once again let out a shrill cry. After a while, the sound of impact outside the hall door became more and more terrifying. The hall door was on the verge of collapse, as if it couldn't hold on for much longer. "My lord, this hall door can't hold on for much longer. What should we do?" Allah's face was incomparably pale as she trembled and said. Zhuan also noticed that dense cracks had begun to appear on the hall door. In less than 15 minutes, it would completely shatter. Hee, let me go, and perhaps I can still give you a way out. Otherwise, all of you will die. The Evil King sneered and said. Zhuan didn't say anything. He directly stepped on the Evil King's head to shut him up immediately. Allah, follow me into the great world. Zhuan's eyes were serious. With a wave of his sleeve, a vortex suddenly appeared in front of him. Lord Zhua, will we really be safe if we hide in your great world? Allah asked carefully. I'm not sure. Let's try it first. Perhaps it will be effective. Zhuan's eyes flickered. Allah. In the end, Allah entered the great world because she realized that she had no other choice. After Allah entered the great world, Zhuan also entered the great world with the Evil King in his hand. The great world turned into extremely fine dust and fell on the edge of the hall door. Boom! At the same time, the hall door completely collapsed. One after another, evil spirits with terrifying auras rushed into the hall. In an instant, the inner hall was filled with evil spirits. These evil spirits naturally didn't see Zhuowen, the evil king, and the other two in the hall. They only saw the mess in the hall. The moment the hall door was destroyed, a speck of dust mixed with the other specks of dust consciously drifted out of the evil king hall. It was still very careful. The evil king is gone. Those two are also gone. The evil spirit with a human head and a snake body who brought Zhuowen to meet the evil king shouted angrily with a cold gaze. They must be hiding around the evil king hall. My 100 evil eyes can find them. An evil spirit with strange eyeballs all over its body said in a low, muffled voice. Evil Eye, quickly find them. If something happens to the evil king, I'm afraid it will be troublesome. The evil spirit with a human head and a snake body said anxiously. Xie nodded his head. After that, the countless eyeballs in his body abruptly flew out, covering the sky above the evil king hall. Streaks of blood-red light shot out from the eyeballs, instantly enveloping the entire evil king hall. Every corner of the evil king hall, even the drifting specks of dust, was under the surveillance of these evil eyes. There was nowhere to hide. Suddenly, one of the eyeballs rolled around and fixed its pupil on the entrance of the evil king hall. There, an inconspicuous speck of dust was drifting out of the hall in a very orderly manner. I see them. They're in a speck of dust outside the hall. Follow me. Chapter 39:25. In the outside world, Zhuowen was constantly paying attention to what was happening outside. When the evil eye used a secret technique to search the evil king temple, Zhuowen suddenly felt a sense of unease. Then, he discovered that the evil spirit with a human face and snake body had led a large group of evil spirits out of the evil king temple. Oh no, I've been discovered. Zhuowen knew that something was wrong. He rushed out of the outside world and used his movement technique to quickly escape down the mountain. Stop this human. The evil spirit with a human face and snake body saw Zhuowen running away and shouted. Suddenly, the evil spirits that were densely packed around the mountain rushed towards Zhuowen like crazy. Get lost! Zhuowen's eyes were gloomy. He used his movement technique and attacked with all his strength, killing all the evil spirits that blocked his way. However, there were too many evil spirits, and they still obstructed Zhuowen's advance. Seeing the evil spirit with a human face and snake body leading a group of evil spirits closer and closer, Zhuowen knew that if he did not escape, he would be completely trapped by these evil spirits, and it would be difficult for him to escape. Allah, get out here quickly! Zhuowen did not hesitate and pulled out Allah, who was still hiding in the outside world. The moment Allah came out, he released his aura. Instantly, most of the evil spirits in front of him moved aside and looked at Allah in fear. At this moment, the pressure on Zhuowen was lifted and he said to Allah, "Follow me." After saying that, Zhuowen used the Grand Mist movement technique and turned into a purple lightning bolt, shooting out at an unprecedented speed. Allah followed closely behind, but after a while, he found that Zhuowen had left him a long distance behind. Whoosh! The purple shadow flashed and appeared in front of Allah again. Allah saw a hand reach out from the purple shadow and pulled Allah, disappearing on the spot again. With the suppression of Allah's aura, most of the evil spirits retreated, not daring to get close to Zhuowen. Without the hindrance of the evil spirits, Zhuowen instantly pulled away from the human-faced, snake-bodied evil spirits and quickly shook them off. When Zhuowen returned to the Great Rift Valley, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Master Zhuo, you're so fierce. You even killed the evil king. Allah gave a thumbs up, praising Zhuowen incessantly. Her heart of reverence was like a surging river. Era, you are free. You can leave now. Zhuowen looked at Allah and said. Allah was stunned, and then she looked at the young man in front of her with a complicated expression. Unknowingly, he actually started to get used to the feeling of following this young man around, especially when it came to tricking the various evil spirits and finally tricking the evil king hall. These are things he would never do in his entire life. However, After following the young man for more than 10 days, he had done all these things that he had never dared to think about before. He actually dared to feel excitement and pleasure in his heart. What? Aren't you leaving? Zhuowen looked at Allah, who hadn't left yet, in surprise. Allah bowed deeply to Zhuowen and said, Master Zhuo, I wish you a bright future and a bright future. After saying that, Allah left without looking back. Allah, I also wish you a meteoric rise and reach the top. Zhuowen murmured softly as he looked at Allah's departing figure. After saying that, he found a remote place and entered the great world. At the edge of the great world's central lake, the evil king was imprisoned and fell on the shore in a sorry state. Around the evil king were 3 divine swords, constantly monitoring him. Boy, the evil king's recovery ability is a little scary. He almost broke free from your seal. Xiaohe rushed over and said with a serious expression. Zhuo nodded. He also noticed that the seal on the evil king's body had dimmed a lot. The evil king lived up to his name as an evil spirit. His recovery ability was much stronger than other evil spirits. Human, I am the king of this world. If you let me go, I will let bygones be bygones. The evil king said coldly. Zhuowen sneered and said, You are now my food. I will not give up food that is right in front of my mouth. Looking at the smile on Zhuowen's face, the evil king's heart skipped a beat. What was wrong with this human? Why was he treating him like food? Soon he realized that the young man in front of him had arrived in front of him and grabbed his head with his right hand. An extremely restrictive force poured out of his palm and into the depths of his brain. The evil king's pupils shrank. He felt that the energy and structure in his body were gradually being refined by this strange force. You are refining me? Be *starred. The evil king was furious. The evil force in his body suddenly surged out. Zhuowen was hit by this force and spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with hatred. He ignored the backlash and began to refine the evil king in a frenzy. Xiaohe looked worriedly at Zhuowen, who was spitting out blood and refining at the same time. She was really worried that Zhuowen would be killed by the backlash from the evil king. Fortunately, after a while, the evil king began to weaken. The backlash also weakened. Zhuowen's condition also improved a lot. Xiaohe was relieved. When dawn came, Zhuowen had only refined 1/10 of the evil king's energy. It had to be said that the evil king's energy was extremely pure. It was far above the evil spirit. Zhuowen's cultivation had improved a lot. He was not far from a breakthrough. Zhuowen did not continue refining. Instead, he left the outside world and returned to the palace. In the remaining 10 days, the competition in the small world would become more intense. Zhuowen had to guard the palace during the day. For the next 9 days, Zhuowen guarded the palace during the day and frantically refined the evil king at night. His cultivation was steadily improving, and his aura was becoming more and more vigorous. Finally, on the 10th day, Zhuowen, who was in the outside world, had completely refined the evil king and turned it into his own energy. His aura had also reached an extremely terrifying level. Boom, 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 boom. A terrifying sound like thunder exploded from Zhuowen's body. I've finally accumulated enough energy. I'm about to break through. Zhuowen's eyes were shining. He slowly walked out of the outside world and away from the Great Rift Valley. He had a premonition that his breakthrough to the yin-yang change would be extremely terrifying. If he was too close to the Great Rift Valley, he was afraid that it would affect Ziling, Li Xinbing, and the others. Zhuowen also noticed that as he ran in the dark, the evil spirits around him were avoiding him. They had probably sensed the terrifying aura that was faintly erupting from his body. Let's go to the 10,000 feet mountain. Zhuowen grinned. He recalled the time when he was chased by the evil spirit with a human face and a snake's body. He was about to break through, and it was time to repay them. When Zhuowen arrived at the 10,000 feet mountain, he was immediately discovered by the evil spirit patrolling the foot of the mountain. Human, how dare you? After kidnapping the evil king, you still have the face to return to the 10,000 feet mountain. The evil spirit immediately recognized Zhuowen. Chapter 39:26. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to have frozen, and the pressure suddenly increased. At the same time, 3 huge black holes appeared in the sky above the 10,000 feet mountain. Each of the black holes contained a terrifying amount of energy. The evil spirit with a human face and a snake body, who was about to charge forward and kill Zhuowen, froze as he looked at the black holes in the sky in fear. You dare to undergo tribulation in our 10,000 feet mountain? You're courting death. The expression of the evil spirit with a human face and a snake body changed slightly. He let out a sharp hiss. Instantly, many evil spirits in the mountains rushed over in groups, bombarding Zhuowen. At the same time, the 3 black holes released extremely terrifying tribulation energies that landed on the evil spirits. Instantly, many of the evil spirits were blasted into nothingness. Zhuowen used his movement technique and dodged the attacks like a fish in water. He pointed with his right hand, and purple energy condensed into a star that pierced through the evil spirit. Zhuowen slowly walked towards the 10,000 feet mountain. Calamities descended one after another, causing the 10,000 feet mountain to shake violently. Everywhere the calamities passed, the evil spirits would vanish. When these tribulations landed on Zhuowen's body one after another, Zhuowen discovered that the tribulations were no longer the same as before. Instead, they were constantly tempering his body and strengthening it. Zhuowen knew that this was due to the primordial technique. The more he cultivated this technique, the weaker the tribulation energy would be and the more beneficial it would be. Of course, this was only for him. To other living beings, it was a disaster. When Zhuowen reached the peak of the 10,000 Mountains mountain, most of the evil spirits of the 10,000 Mountains mountain had vanished into thin air due to Zhuowen's calamity. The evil king hall at the peak of the mountain had also been destroyed by the calamity. Zhuowen roared into the sky as his aura reached its peak. He rushed into the sky and stirred up the clouds. Even the sky changed color. The power of the 5 elements in his body turned into 5 different colored powers that rushed into the sky and fused together, turning into an extremely huge ring. The 5 colors on the surface of the ring gradually merged and spun continuously. Finally, it turned into 2 colors, black and white. The ring also became a circular image. This was the yin-yang image, the symbol of an yin-yang transformation realm cultivator. My yin-yang diagram seems a little different. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. He looked at the yin-yang diagram in the sky and realized that the black and white colors in the yin-yang diagram were entangled together. Then, they suddenly separated and landed on both sides of him, turning into 2 figures, one black and one white. The faces of the 2 figures were blurry, but their figures and clothes were exactly the same as Zhuowen's. The primordial technique is indeed a peerless technique. When one reaches the void god transformation stage, the void god formed is already different from a normal cultivator's. When it comes to the yin-yang transformation, it is no longer a yin-yang image, but a yin god and a yang god. Zhuowen's eyes revealed a look of enlightenment. The characteristic of his yin-yang transformation was not the ordinary yin-yang diagram, but the yin-yang spirit. The yin god was a void god. It was even more ethereal than ghosts and spirits. It was difficult to detect with one's divine sense, and it was the best clone for long-range reconnaissance. The yang god was a solid god. It had a uniquely tough body. Even a god domain transformation realm cultivator would find it difficult to destroy it. With a thought, Zhuowen's black yin god on his left turned into a shadow and blended into the darkness. In the blink of an eye, it was thousands of miles away. It was so quiet that even the evil spirits with sharp senses couldn't detect its presence. Whoosh! When the yin god returned, it turned into a yin-yang diagram and blended into Zhuowen's body. With the yin god, I can enter the Hongwu Shenzhen and find the sect master's whereabouts without alerting anyone. Zhuowen murmured to himself excitedly. At the same time, he realized that after reaching the early yin-yang transformation realm, he immediately encountered a bottleneck. No matter how many evil spirits he refined, he couldn't advance any further. This was because his primordial technique was incomplete. He could only cultivate to the heaven-crushing 6 transformations, yin-yang transformation. If he wanted to advance to a higher realm, he would either have to change his cultivation method or find the remaining primordial stone to obtain the remaining primordial technique. Zhuowen had experienced the power of the primordial technique. Naturally, he couldn't change his cultivation method. After joining the Hongwu Shengzhen and finding the sect master's whereabouts, I'll have to set off for the absolute beginning cave in the Falling Star Mountain to look for the second primordial stone. Zhuowen murmured to himself. When he had obtained the key to the primordial stone in the Ascension sect, he had unlocked the map. The map clearly indicated that the second primordial stone was in the absolute beginning cave in the Falling Star Mountain. The Falling Star Mountain was in the Li Yuan Master District. It was said that it was a place of great danger. If he wanted to enter, he had to be fully prepared. When Zhuowen left the 10,000 feet mountain and returned to the palace in the Great Rift Valley, the sky was already bright. There was also a group of uninvited guests in the Great Rift Valley. Zhuowen stood silently at the entrance of the palace. He looked coldly at the 2 groups of people who had appeared in front of the palace. The 2 groups of people were extraordinary. Zhuowen had seen the leader of one of the groups before. He was Cang Juanda. Beside Cang Juanda was a young girl holding a divine sword. She stood silently behind him. When Cang Juanda had first come to the Wukong State team, he had tried to intimidate Kush Xinjue. It could be said that he was extremely arrogant. The leader of the other group was a man with a scar on his face. His eyes were filled with brutality and ferocity. His body was filled with a terrifying aura. This person's aura was no weaker than Cang Juanda's. He was probably also an exceptional genius in the middle stage of the yin-yang transformation realm. Li Xinbing, Ziling, and the others stood behind Zhuowen. They looked nervously at the 2 groups of people in front of the palace. Wang Wenhong, Cang Juanda, and Ming Yingwu. The 3 seated candidates for this trial are gathered here. This is really... Li Xinbing muttered to herself in shock. Other than that, Zhuowen also saw Wang Wenhong among the 2 groups of people. At this moment, Wang Wenhong was staring at him coldly. It was as if he was going to swallow him alive. Wang Wenhong, didn't you learn your lesson last time? Are you here to die? Zhuowen said indifferently. Wang Wenhong was furious and said, Zhuowen, don't be too arrogant. I was careless last time and lost to you, but this time you're dead meat. I think I've seen you before. You were in Ku Xinjue's team before we entered the trial grounds, right? Since you're still alive, where's Ku Xinjue? Cang Juanda looked at Zhuowen and suddenly asked. I killed him. Zhuowen said indifferently. Since you've gathered so many people here, there must be something you need my help with, right? The man with the scar on his face said coldly. There really is something we need your help with. I heard from Brother Wang that you have 2 astral weapons. How about this? Hand over the 2 astral weapons and get out of this palace. I'll consider letting you live. Cang Juanda raised his eyebrows, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. He looked at Zhuowen. Obviously, he had the same idea. Chapter 39:27. It seems that this friend doesn't intend to hand over the 2 astral weapons on him. Cang Juanda's eyes were cold as he slowly walked forward. Wang Wenhong and Ming Yingwu also released powerful auras to suppress Zhuowen. Zhuowen, you have no way out. Whether it's Brother Cang or Brother Ming, they both have a rank 4 astral weapon. With the 3 of us working together, you are no match for us. If you know what's good for you, hand over the astral weapons on you, then cripple your own cultivation. Kneel in front of me and apologize, and I may let you live. Otherwise, you will die without a doubt. Wang Wenhong stared at Zhuowen with a gloomy gaze. He grinned and laughed complacently. Zhuan looked coldly at Wang Wenhong and sneered. A loser like you has the right to show off in front of me? Back then, who was it that was like a stray dog, constantly running for his life and constantly fleeing? Wang Wenhong's face suddenly turned ugly, but he was quite shrewd and did not lose his mind because of anger. He said, "Today is different from the past. Do you think you can beat the three of us? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Just come up and fight, the three of you together." Zhuowen stepped into the void and ascended thousands of miles into the sky. He looked down coldly at Wang Wenhong, Song Juanda, and Ming Yingwu. Everyone was in an uproar. They did not expect that under the pressure of the three core geniuses, Zhuowen not only did not retreat, but also wanted to fight one against three. He was indeed arrogant. Ziling, Li Xinbing, and the others' faces changed slightly. Their eyes were full of worry. If it was a one-on-one battle, they still had a lot of confidence in Zhuowen. But now it was 3 against 1, and Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu both had rank 4 astral weapons. In this battle, Zhuowen's chances of winning were really not high. This person's courage is outstanding. Unfortunately, he will fall here. The girl holding the sword glanced at Zhuowen and shook her head regretfully. She knew how terrifying Song Juanda and the other two were. Zhuowen was definitely not their match. Song Juanda and the rest of Ming Yingwu's team also sneered. They felt that Zhuowen was overestimating himself and seeking his own death. "I admire your courage. You actually dared to fight 1 against 3. As Song Juanda spoke, he took out a broken wooden sculpture from his spirit ring. This wooden sculpture was about the size of a palm, and it was shaped like a Buddha sitting on a lotus seat. However, the wooden carving was broken. The Buddha had lost an arm and a leg. Zhuowen's gaze landed on the wooden Buddha sculpture. He could sense a terrifying and threatening aura from the wooden Buddha sculpture. "Rank 4 astral soldier?" Zhuowen frowned and asked in reply. "This is the rank 4 astral weapon lotus seat Buddha bestowed upon me by my sect." Song Juanda held the wooden Buddha sculpture in his hand, indifferently speaking. They just barely managed to gain the upper hand. The two of you, this kid's astral weapon, should have reached the peak of the rank 4. If you want to rely on the astral weapon to completely suppress him, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to win. The best way is for the 3 of us to join forces and eliminate this kid. Wang Wenhong rushed to the side of the two and opened his mouth to suggest. He had fought a battle with Zhuowen and suffered a loss. He knew how terrifying the 3-fire true mirror in Zhuowen's hand was. "All right, the 3 of us will join forces and end the battle quickly. We'll quickly eliminate this kid." Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu both agreed with Wang Wenhong's suggestion. The 3 of them rushed out from 3 different directions, sealing off all of Zhuowen's escape routes and attacking Zhuowen with all their might. The yin-yang diagram hung high above the 3 of them, and a valiant aura burst out from it without restraint. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. Looking at the 3 people rushing over, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. The yin-yang energy in his body surged out like a tide, rushing to the top of his head and turning into a huge yin-yang diagram. Zhuowen's yin-yang diagram was larger than Wang Wenhong's, Song Juanda's, and Ming Yingwu's, and its aura was even more terrifying. This was because his yin-yang diagram was called yin-yang God. "Sun God," Zhuowen whispered softly. The yin-yang diagram above his head split into 2 figures, one black and one white. The white figure entered Zhuowen's body. Suddenly, Zhuowen's body erupted with a blazing white light, like a rising sun. Zhuowen could feel that after fusing with the sun god, his physical body had reached an unimaginable level of toughness. "Die!" Wang Wenhong was the first to rush over. He slammed his right palm down, and the terrifying yin-yang energy turned into a surging palm force that came slanting down. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. He suddenly threw out a punch, smashing into Wang Wenhong's palm force. To Wang Wenhong's disbelief, his surging palm force was completely shattered by Zhuowen. Then, the terrifying fist force smashed into his right palm. Chapter 39:28. Wang Wenhong spat out a mouthful of blood and screamed as he was sent flying. His heart was filled with disbelief. This Zhuan seemed to be much, much stronger than the last time. Just one move was enough to heavily injure him. Soon, Wang Wenhong understood that Zhuan's power was no longer the power of the five elements, but the more advanced power of yin and yang. He broke through to the yin-yang change. But he's only in the early stage of the yin-yang change. How can he be so strong? Wang Wenhong roared in disbelief. The moment Wang Wenhong was sent flying by Zhuan, Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu arrived in an instant and attacked at the same time. Two terrifying punches came crashing down, causing countless cracks to appear in the surrounding space. It was clear how terrifying their attacks were. Zhuan, on the other hand, stood calmly in the same spot and threw out two punches unhurriedly. He exchanged punches with Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu. Boom, boom. The force of his fist was too terrifying. Wherever it passed, the space exploded, and black holes were constantly wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Kacha! When the four punches collided, Zhuan was suspended in the air as steady as Mount Tai. His hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu's pupils shrank to the size of needles. Not only were their punches broken, but their right hands were also torn apart by the terrifying power. Blood splattered everywhere. Bang! Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu fell to the ground at the same time. At this moment, the whole place fell into silence. Everyone looked at the scene in disbelief. Song Juanda, Wang Wenhong, and Ming Yingwu were the three strongest geniuses in this trial. They were the seeded contestants. The three of them could easily crush most of the warriors in the trial. And now, Zhuan was able to severely injure the three geniuses with a single punch each. How terrifying was this guy's strength? Brother Zhua is so strong. Zi Ling exclaimed in surprise. When did he break through to the yin-yang change? Li Xinbing muttered to herself in shock. If she remembered correctly, when she first met Zhuan, he was only in the late stage of the five elements change. It had only been a short while, and he had already reached the yin-yang transformation. His cultivation speed was simply too fast. Zhuan slowly descended from the void and looked at Song Juanda, Wang Wenhong, and Ming Yingwu, who were lying not far away. All of you are so weak. How can you be qualified to be called the strongest seeded contestants in the entrance trial? You're all so weak. How dare you challenge me? Zhuan said slowly. Song Juanda, Ming Yingwu, and Wang Wenhong's faces changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with humiliation, but at the same time, their hearts were filled with fear. They had never imagined that in just a single exchange, the three of them would be heavily injured by this kid. Suddenly, Wang Wenhong covered the wound on his right arm and quickly retreated. He flew out like an eagle, fleeing towards the Great Rift Valley. Wang Wenhong, did I allow you to escape? Zhuan took a step forward and appeared in front of Wang Wenhong, as if he had teleported. He then threw a punch at Wang Wenhong's face. Poochie! This punch was too terrifying. It actually pierced through Wang Wenhong's face, causing his head to explode and his divine soul to dissipate. When Wang Wenhong's corpse fell from the sky, the originally restless Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu's faces were incomparably pale. The two groups of people they had brought with them were also trembling all over. The difference was too great. Three mid-stage yin-yang transformation experts were like ants in the hands of Zhuan. Their hearts were filled with despair. Who else wants to escape? Zhuan asked indifferently. The entire place was silent. No one answered. Zhuan came in front of Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu and said indifferently, "The two of you, stop controlling your rank for astral weapons." Song Juanda and Ming Yingwu's eyes flickered, revealing their unwillingness. Poochie! A divine soul, sword intent, suddenly swept out and blasted Ming Yingwu's forehead. Ming Yingwu's eyes were wide open as he stared at Zhuan. His forehead was pierced, and his divine soul was shattered by the divine soul sword intent. Plop! Ming Yingwu died on the spot. After Ming Ying Wu died, the mighty draconic python halberd in the sky lost control and fell from the sky. After killing Ming Ying Wu, Zhuowen's gaze fell on Song Juanda. Song Juanda's face was pale and bloodless. He hurriedly withdrew the wooden Buddha statue in the sky. He held the Buddha statue with both hands and respectfully offered it to Zhuowen. Brother Zhua, this lotus Buddha statue is destined to be with you. I'll give it to you. Please don't reject it. Song Juanda smiled apologetically. Zhuowen took the lotus Buddha statue in his hand without any hesitation. After carefully examining it, he kept it in the great world. Then he waved his right hand. The three fires' true mirror in the sky released a wisp of flame that wrapped around the draconic python halberd that fell not far away and returned to Zhuowen's side. Brother Song, how do you want to die? Zhuowen looked down at Song Juanda, who was on the ground, and said word by word. Song Juanda's eyes were filled with fear. He said, Brother Zhua, I've already surrendered. I'm no longer a threat to you. Why do you still want to kill me? Zhuowen smiled and said, Why don't I kill you? When you came together and flaunted your strength and asked me for the astral weapon, did you ever think of letting me go? If I was weaker than you and was defeated by you, would I still be alive? Those who kill will be killed by others. Since you want to kill me, I have no reason not to kill you. After saying that, Zhuowen ignored Song Juanda, who wanted to refute. Another wisp of divine soul sword essence flew out from between his eyebrows and disappeared into Song Juanda's forehead. Plop! Song Juanda's eyes were lifeless. He fell to the ground and completely lost his breath. After Zhuowen kept the spirit rings of Song Juanda and the others, he turned to look at the two groups of people brought by Song Juanda and Ming Ying Wu. The two groups of people felt Zhuowen's gaze and were extremely nervous. They were secretly on guard. The girl holding the sword pulled out the divine sword in her hand and stared at Zhuowen. Hand over all the headless idols you have and get lost, Zhuowen said coldly. Everyone was stunned at first, then they were overjoyed. They didn't expect that Zhuowen didn't plan to kill them. Therefore, they handed over the headless idols one after another. Anyone else? If anyone is hiding anything, I'll kill them without mercy, Zhuowen said with a murderous aura. The girl holding the sword frowned slightly. She gritted her teeth and took out 3 headless idols. She said, I only have these 3 idols. Zhuowen looked at the girl holding the sword indifferently and kept the idols. He waved his hand and said, You can get lost now. Don't appear in front of me again, or I'll kill you all. Whoosh! Everyone scattered and left the Rift Valley in an instant. Brother Zhua, when did you break through the yin-yang change? You're amazing. Ziling, Li Xinbing, and the others walked out of the temple and came to Zhuowen's side. Ziling's eyes were full of admiration. I broke through last night by chance. It was actually due to luck. We have enough idols. For the next period of time, we'll stay in the temple and don't go out. When 30 days are up, we'll all pass this trial. Zhuowen smiled faintly and handed the idols to Ziling and Li Xinbing. Chapter 39-29. For the next period of time, Zhuowen basically stayed in the palace. He used the primordial stone as a medium to fuse the 3-rank 4 astral weapons, the dragon python great halberd, the lotus Buddha, and the bronze spear tip with the 3-fire true mirror. As the 4-rank 4 astral weapons were almost equal in terms of rank, no one could devour the other during the fusion process. In the end, the 4-rank 4 astral weapons melted into a ball of purplish gold liquid in the process of devouring each other. It floated in front of Zhuowen. This ball of purplish gold liquid was not much, but the aura it emitted was enough to make Zhuowen shudder. Zhuowen knew that this purplish gold liquid was already a rank 5 astral weapon. However, Zhuowen also knew that the liquid could not be used as a weapon. Therefore, he used his yin and yang energy to continuously polish the purplish gold liquid, causing it to continuously solidify and transform into the shape of a sword. In order to solidify this ball of purplish gold liquid, Zhuowen spent 10 days and 10 nights. When he finally completely solidified it, a rough and bladeless sword embryo appeared in front of Zhuowen. When Zhuowen saw this sword embryo, the corner of his mouth twitched violently. This sword embryo was really too ugly. It was crooked and its surface was full of holes. If it was not for the sword hilt, one would not be able to tell that it was a sword at all. Instead, it looked more like a broken stick. Although the sword embryo's appearance was not anything special and was even somewhat ugly, the aura emitted from its surface was extremely frightening. Even Zhuowen felt fear and trepidation from it. Zhuowen held the sword embryo and left the palace, heading into the depths of the darkness. He once again came to the 10,000 feet mountain. Although he had gone through a tribulation at the 10,000 feet mountain, many evil spirits had died. However, not long after, the evil spirits of the 10,000 feet mountain were once again densely packed and endless. However, these evil spirits were not of a high level and could not help Zhuowen by much. Therefore, Zhuowen was not interested. Let's test this sword embryo on the 10,000 feet mountain. Zhuowen muttered to himself. Then, he raised his right hand and waved it forward. Instantly, the purplish gold sword embryo emitted a blazing purplish gold light. Then, a terrifying purplish gold sword aura shot out and slashed towards the 10,000 feet mountain. This purplish gold sword aura was too huge. It was as if it connected the heavens and the earth. It was much, much taller than the 10,000 feet mountain. Wherever the sword chi passed, the space collapsed. Countless black holes filled the places where it passed. The evil spirits that were originally scattered in the surroundings fell into the black holes and were torn to pieces. Finally, the sword aura fell 10,000 feet mountain. Then, Zhuowen shockingly realized that the entire mountain had been sliced in half. The mountain was split into two halves from middle. Then, the two halves of the mountain crumbled into fine powder and turned into dust, dissipating into the air. After the purple gold sword chi sliced through the mountain, it did not slow down at all as it shot up into the sky. Then, the dark sky lit up with a blazing purplish gold light. A huge crack appeared in the sky. The crack was simply too long. It was as if it had split the entire sky into two, splitting it into two. Countless living beings in the small world looked up at the sky at this moment, their faces filled with horror. Zhuowen looked at this scene in a daze. His pupils shrank to the size of needles, and his body trembled slightly. He did not expect the purplish gold sword embryo to be so powerful. With his current cultivation and the purplish gold sword embryo, Zhuowen was confident that he would not be afraid of a God Realm Change Realm Master. Many cultivators gathered in the Hongwu Square. These cultivators were all waiting for something in the square. They were the leaders of the various states. They were in charge of leading their respective geniuses to the trial. Wukong State's Elder Wulong, Perfected Zhang, and the others were also in the square. They were nervously looking at a glowing sphere floating in the middle of the square. The sphere was not big. It was about the size of a human head. Dragon Elephant Hall's Elder Pei Shanglong, who was in charge of the trial, was standing in front of the sphere. He was holding the glowing sphere with both hands. This sphere was the entrance to the small world of the trial. During the trial, Pei Shanglong had to keep the entrance open. After 30 days, he would use his own power to teleport all the surviving cultivators out of the small world. Suddenly, Pei Shanglong's face changed. He felt an extremely terrifying power coming from the small world. Bang! 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 The sphere between his hands exploded with dazzling lights. A terrifying sword aura spread out, causing the sphere to tremble as if it would explode at any time. Pei Shanglong groaned. He formed a seal with both hands, and a huge god-fiend shadow appeared behind him. A terrifying aura was exposed. The entire square seemed to be shrouded by the god-fiend shadow. Everyone was trembling, and their faces turned pale. Pei Shanglong unleashed the full power of the celestial demon transformation, and with a cold roar, he crushed the terrifying sword chi with his hand. The trembling earth finally returned to normal. Pei Shanglong's eyes were serious. The god-fiend shadow behind him slowly disappeared. There was a scratch on his right palm. Blood flowed down slowly. Many of the cultivators in the square were shocked when they saw Pei Shanglong's palm being cut open. Pei Shanglong was a powerhouse in the fiend god transformation state. For there to be an existence in this minor world that could injure Pei Shanglong, how dangerous was this minor world? Pei Shanglong furrowed his brows. His heart was filled with doubts. That small world was a mystic realm discovered by the Hong martial sacred sect. He was very familiar with that small world and knew that the strongest person in that small world should be the evil king of the 10,000 feet mountain. Although the evil king was strong, he could not do anything to a celestial demon transformation expert. Moreover, the terrifying sword aura just now was not from the evil king. It was from a cultivator. Could it be one of the cultivators who took part in the trial? Pei Shanglong thought to himself, but he quickly shook his head. The cultivators who took part in the trial were all juniors. The strongest among them was only in the middle stage of the yin-yang transformation. With this kind of cultivation, he could crush him to death with a single finger. How could he possibly hurt him? It seems that this small world needs to be investigated again. There may be more powerful beings in there. Pei Shanglong laughed coldly. Elder Pei, what happened just now? That's fear. Some people in the square were still in shock and could not help but ask. It's okay. It was just an accident. I have it under control now. Pei Shanglong shook his head. Another 3 days passed. Finally, it was the 30th day. On this day, Zhuan led Ziling, Li Xinbing, and a group of people out of the hall. They silently waited for Pei Shanglong to teleport them. Ziling, Li Xinbing, and the others were very excited. They did not expect that they would pass the trial so easily. Chapter 39:30. Suddenly, a huge crack appeared in the sky above the small world. Pei Shanglong's emotionless voice came from the crack. The trial is over. I'm going to teleport you out. Don't resist. After that, a strong suction force came from the sky, and Zhuan and the others were involuntarily sucked into the crack in the sky. When Zhuan opened his eyes, he found that he was no longer in the small world, but in the Hongwu Square. In front of him was Pei Shanglong, who was holding a gorgeous sphere in his hand. Several more beams of light surged out of the sphere, and groups of cultivators appeared. After about 4 groups of cultivators appeared, the sphere no longer emitted any more beams of light. Obviously, including Zhuan's team, there were only 5 groups of cultivators who survived and successfully passed the trial. Zhuan found that the leaders of these 4 groups of cultivators were basically at the early stage of the yin-yang change. With their lineup, as long as they did not waste time in the trial, it would not be a problem for them to pass the trial smoothly. Pei Shanglong looked at the 5 groups of cultivators and was a little surprised. He found that before the trial, the 3 geniuses at the middle stage of the yin-yang change did not seem to have come out. He waited for a while and found that there was still no light. He knew that the 3 seated contestants were probably dead inside. Thinking of this, Pei Shanglong waved his hand and dispelled the gorgeous sphere in his hand. Elder Pei, there should be someone who hasn't come out yet. Are you going to close the exit just like that? Suddenly, Elder Wulong stepped forward and asked Pei Shanglong. He looked at the 5 groups of cultivators and did not see Kashin Jue and the others come out. Instead, he saw Zhuan and Ziling come out. His heart could not help but thump. Now that he saw Pei Shanglong dispelling the sphere, he could not help but ask, Yes, Elder Pei, wait a little longer. Song Juanda from our Jianglong state has not come out yet. He might have something to do inside and is delayed inside. The leader of the Jianglong state also spoke. He was very confident in Song Juanda's strength. With the latter's strength, passing the trial was a piece of cake. And Ming Yingwu from our Fenghua state has not come out either. My Wang Wenhong from the Feihong state hasn't come out yet. The people from the Fenghua prefecture and the Feihong prefecture also walked out. They were very confident that their teams would not meet with any mishaps in this trial. Pei Shanglong looked coldly at the 4 people who were questioning him and said, "Are you questioning me?" The expressions of the 4 people who had stepped forward changed slightly, and they hurriedly denied it. "I've been waiting for a while. Since they haven't come out yet, it means that they died inside. Otherwise, it would be impossible for there to be no reaction," Pei Shanglong said. "Impossible. Ku Xinjue is at the early stage of the yin-yang transformation realm. How could he have died in there? With his strength, he should have been able to pass this trial," Elder Wu Long said in disbelief. The other 3 also each expressed their own views. Wang Wenhong, Song Jiuanda, and Ming Yingwu's cultivations were stronger than Ku Xinjue's, and each of them had a 4th-rank astral weapon that the sect had temporarily lent them. They didn't think the 3 of them would die in the trial. If that was really the case, their losses would be too great. Not only did they lose their strongest geniuses, but even their 4th-rank astral weapon was lost in the small world. "Elder Pei, we must enter the small world to take a look. We must see them if they are alive, and if they are dead, we must see their corpses." The leader of the Jianglong state was a middle-aged man, and he said in a deep voice. Pei Shanglong smiled. He waved his sleeve, and a terrifying power exploded. The middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. His face became extremely pale. "Didn't you hear what I said? If I say they're dead, they are dead. You dare to refute me? That means you don't believe me?" Pei Shanglong's eyes were terrifyingly cold. Waves of killing intent shot out from his eyes. Everyone in the square lowered their heads, not daring to look at Pei Shanglong. Elder Wu Long's body trembled. He also lowered his head, not daring to look at Pei Shanglong. "Cho Bai, bring these disciples back to the outer sect mountain. From now on, they're the outer sect disciples of our Hongwu Shengzhen. The sect has an assessment every 10 years. If your results are outstanding, you'll be qualified to enter the inner sect and become an inner sect disciple." After Pei Shanglong finished speaking, he no longer paid attention to the cultivators who passed the trial, who looked at each other in dismay. With his status, he really didn't dare to have any interest in these cultivators. Originally, he paid attention to the 3 seated contestants. Unfortunately, the 3 of them didn't live up to expectations and actually died in the small world. He only thought that the 3 of them should have killed each other and died together, so he didn't think too much about it. As for the other cultivators, he was not interested at all, so he didn't have any intention of promoting them. Moreover, he was still brooding about the terrifying sword chi that suddenly burst out from the small world. He planned to report this matter to the sect master, and then thoroughly investigate that small world again. After Pei Shanglong left, Cho Bai said to the remaining 5 groups, "Bring your leaders and follow me to the outer sect mountain." These 5 groups of people immediately brought along their respective guides. Ziling brought the beautiful middle-aged woman, and Li Xinbing's leader was a kind old man. They whispered to each other, and all looked at Zhuowen in amazement. Then, the middle-aged woman and the old man came together to express their gratitude to Zhuowen. After all, Ziling and Li Xinbing had told them that it was all thanks to Zhuowen that they were able to pass the trial this time. In particular, the middle-aged woman held Zhuowen's hand to express her sincere gratitude. Ziling's cultivation was too low. She had initially opposed Ziling's participation in the entrance trial of Hongwu Shengzhen. However, Ziling insisted on coming. She wanted to pursue a higher path. Originally, the middle-aged woman had no hope for Ziling at all. Now, Ziling had successfully passed the trial and become Hongwu Shengzhen's disciple. What an honor! And all of this was because of the young man in front of her. Daowen, what happened to Ku Xinjue in the small world? You must know. Elder Wulong brought Jinren Zhang and the others to Zhuowen's side and stared at Zhuowen with an extremely unfriendly gaze. Zhuowen looked at these people indifferently and said, "How would I know what happened to Ku Xinjue? I haven't seen Ku Xinjue since I entered the small world. What's the point of asking me? You're lying. It must be you. You used some trick to sneak attack Ku Xinjue." It must be you. I want you to pay with your life. Elder Wulong's expression was agitated, and a terrifying aura erupted. Zhuan's face was gloomy. He didn't expect Elder Wulong to attack him just because of a disagreement. Chapter 39-31. Elder Wulong sneered and said, Dawan, no one can help you. I'll give you a chance to tell me what happened to Ku Xinjue. Maybe I'll spare your life. Elder Wulong slowly walked toward Zhuan. A powerful aura surged out from him. Suddenly, a beautiful middle-aged woman and an old man blocked in front of Zhuan. They also released their auras to block Elder Wulong. Elder Wulong stopped in his tracks. He ignored the middle-aged woman and looked at the old man beside her with fear. This old man's cultivation was also at the peak of the yin-yang transformation. He was not weaker than Elder Wulong. Fellow Taoist, why are you blocking my way? Elder Wulong frowned. This old man was Li Xinbing's master. He was grateful that Zhuan helped Li Xinbing pass the trial. Therefore, when he saw Elder Wulong pressuring Zhuan, he naturally stood up for Zhuan. The old man said indifferently, Fellow Taoist Dawan is an old acquaintance of mine. If you insist on attacking fellow Taoist Dawan, then I might have to accompany you to the end. Elder Wulong frowned slightly. He looked coldly at Zhuan, withdrew his aura, and left the Hongwu Square with Taoist Zhang and the others. Thank you, Senior. Zhuan clasped his hands at the old man. Although he was not afraid of Elder Wulong, he did not want to reveal his strength in public. It would be easy for people to suspect that he was the one who killed Wang Wenhong and the others. The main thing was that Wang Wenhong and the others had astral weapons. If people guessed that, he would not be in a good situation. The old man waved his hand and said with a smile, Dawan, you're too polite. I should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for you, how come my disciple passed the trial so easily? Li Xinbing came to the old man's side and winked at Zhuan playfully. Senior brother Dawan, where's your guide? Li Xinbing asked curiously. My guide went back in advance. I came to Hongwu Shenzhen alone. Zhuan said. Elder Cho Bai looked at the old man in surprise and said loudly, Disciples who pass the trial, follow me. I'll take you to the outer sect mountain. Everyone gathered and followed behind Elder Cho Bai with their respective guides. Zhuan looked coldly at Elder Cho Bai. He could guess why Elder Cho Bai helped Elder Wulong. It seemed that Elder Cho Bai had received a lot of benefits from Elder Wulong. That, Zhuan could imagine that Elder Wulong would definitely not let this matter rest. At that time, he would definitely ask Elder Cho Bai to target him again. Zhuan coldly snorted in his heart. If this Elder Cho Bai dared to provoke him again, he wouldn't mind directly exterminating her. Was Elder Cho Bai, Elder Wulong, and Elder Cho Bai. Elder Cho Bai summoned a divine ship and led everyone on board. She started the divine ship and flew towards the periphery of Hongwu Shenzhen. The outer sect mountain was the outermost mountain among the many peaks in Hongwu Shenzhen. The surging light was like the blazing light of the rising sun, sprinkling down and enveloping the entire island, illuminating it with a myriad of colors. As expected of Hongwu Shenzhen, even his method of dispelling the darkness is so extraordinary. Zhuan shook his head, stood up, and walked down the mountain peak. Senior brother Dawan, are you really going to see Elder Cho Bai? Suddenly, Li Xinbing appeared in front of Zhuan and asked with furrowed brows. Zhuan said helplessly, without an identity token, I don't even have a cave residence. Of course, I have to ask Elder Cho Bai for one. Li Xinbing bit her lips and said, Elder Cho Bai must be in cahoots with Elder Wulong and the others. I'm afraid you will be besieged if you go there. You can stay in my cave residence for tonight. Tomorrow, we will report this to the faction. Someone will seek justice for you. Zhuan looked at Li Xinbing in surprise. He didn't expect that Li Xinbing would take the initiative to invite him into her cave. Li Xinbing felt Zhuan's strange look, and her face blushed. She snorted and said, My cave residence is very spacious. There's several rooms. We will not be staying in the same room. Ahem. Junior sisterly, what are you thinking? Zhuan coughed. Li Xinbing's face became redder and redder. She glared at Zhuan and wondered if Zhuan was teasing her on purpose. Huh. Thank you for your kindness, Junior sisterly. However, I must go there tonight. Even if they join forces, so what? I, Zhuan, am not afraid of them. Zhuan smiled faintly and strode towards the outer sect peak. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.